There are two kinds of people in this world: those who drift through life, reacting to whatever happens, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect circumstance, and those who take control, those who decide right now that their life will not be ordinary. What separates them? Mindset, discipline, a philosophy that refuses to let them be weak. If you feel like life isn't what it should be, if you wake up some mornings knowing deep down that you're meant for more, but something, fear, doubt, hesitation, keeps holding you back, then this is for you. Because the truth is, an extraordinary life isn't given. It's not about luck, privilege, or talent. It's built. One thought, one decision, one action at a time. And no philosophy in history has shaped stronger, more resilient, and more unstoppable people than Stoicism. The lessons you're about to hear aren't just ideas. They are weapons. Weapons against fear, against weakness, against everything that has ever kept you from living life on your terms. By the end of this, you'll see the world differently. More importantly, you'll see yourself differently. Because an extraordinary life isn't something you wait for. It's something you create. And it starts now. Self-esteem isn't something you're born with, and it's not something you can just decide to have. It's earned through action, discipline, and perseverance. Yet, most people are looking for shortcuts. They want to feel good about themselves without doing the hard things that actually create self-respect. But the truth is, confidence doesn't come from compliments, participation, trophies, or empty affirmations in the mirror. It comes from knowing deep down that you've put in the work. Look at anyone who radiates unshakable confidence. They didn't get there by seeking approval or waiting for someone else to validate them. They got there by challenging themselves, by stepping outside their comfort zone, by repeatedly proving to themselves that they are capable. When you do something difficult, something you didn't think you could do, you expand your identity. You redefine what you're capable of. And that's where real confidence is born. But most people avoid discomfort. They tell themselves they're not ready, that they need more time, more motivation, or more external encouragement before they take action. They wait for self-esteem to appear before they make a move. But that's not how it works. Action precedes confidence. You don't feel ready first. You feel ready because you did the thing despite not feeling ready. Self-esteem isn't built in comfort. It's built in the moments when you push yourself beyond what's easy. Think about a time when you faced a challenge and overcame it. Maybe it was a difficult exam, a tough workout, or speaking in public when you were terrified. How did you feel afterward? More confident, more capable, and proud of yourself. That's the formula for self-esteem: facing challenges, doing the hard things, and proving to yourself that you can handle it. Yet, too many people outsource their confidence. They rely on social media likes, external praise, or approval from others to feel good about themselves. The problem is, external validation is temporary and unreliable. One day people love you, the next day they forget about you. If your self-worth is tied to their approval, you'll always be chasing something outside yourself, never feeling truly secure. That's why the only way to develop real, lasting self-esteem is by earning it through action. Every time you make a difficult decision, every time you push yourself beyond your comfort zone, you add another layer to your confidence. It's built through repetition, through consistently choosing discipline over comfort, resilience over excuses, and action over hesitation. This is why people who train hard, build businesses, write books, or master skills have an unshakable sense of self. They don't need to fake confidence. It's real because they've earned it. Their achievements serve as undeniable proof that they can handle difficulty, which reinforces their belief in themselves. And the best part, this kind of self-esteem isn't fragile. It doesn't disappear the moment someone criticizes them or when external validation fades. It stays because it was built on solid ground. If you want real self-respect, start doing things that make you respect yourself. Set a goal and see it through. Challenge yourself daily. Do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. Over time, you'll notice something shift. Your self-image will change. You'll stop questioning your worth and start carrying yourself with quiet confidence, because deep down, you'll know that you earned it. Most people spend their entire lives focused on themselves, how they feel, what others think of them, whether they are successful enough, happy enough, liked enough. Ironically, this intense self-focus often leads to anxiety, self-doubt, and dissatisfaction. When life is only about you, every problem feels magnified, every insecurity becomes a burden, and every failure feels personal. But the moment you shift your focus beyond yourself, everything changes. Instead of obsessing over your own struggles, you start looking outward. You find a mission, a purpose, a cause that's bigger than your personal desires or fears. And suddenly, the self-doubt that once consumed you starts to fade. This is why the most fulfilled people aren't just focused on themselves. They are focused on something greater. Athletes dedicate themselves to the pursuit of mastery. Parents devote themselves to their children's future. Entrepreneurs build companies to serve others. Spiritual seekers commit to a higher path. The common thread: they all have something bigger than themselves that drives them forward. When you attach your energy to a purpose outside of yourself, your problems no longer feel as overwhelming. You become more resilient because you're not just living for your own comfort. You're living for something meaningful. You stop hesitating out of fear because your mission is more important than your insecurities. You find strength not in self-obsession, but in contribution, creation, and service. History's greatest leaders, thinkers, and creators all shared this mindset. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful Stoic philosophers, ruled Rome with the belief that his life was not about personal indulgence, but about serving his people. He faced war, betrayal, and immense hardship, but he never wavered. Why? Because he wasn't driven by selfish desires. He was driven by duty. When you live only for yourself, every failure feels like an existential crisis. But when you live for something greater, failures become lessons, setbacks become part of the journey, and personal struggles lose their weight. You move through life with a sense of direction, knowing that every effort you make contributes to something meaningful. If you find yourself stuck in self-doubt or lacking motivation, ask yourself, what am I living for? What is driving me beyond my own comfort? What problem do I want to solve? What mark do I want to leave on the world? Find something bigger than yourself, and you'll find a source of energy and fulfillment that never fades. You won't have to force motivation. It will come naturally because you're being pulled by something greater. And in that pursuit, you'll not only build an extraordinary life, but also leave behind a legacy that matters. A purpose beyond yourself removes self-centered anxieties and provides fulfillment. Most people are trapped in their own minds, obsessing over their insecurities, fears, and the opinions of others. They spiral into self-doubt, wondering if they're enough, if they're doing life right, or if they'll ever be truly happy. And the more they focus on themselves, the worse it gets. This is the trap of excessive self-focus, where your entire existence revolves around how you feel, what you want, and whether or not you're measuring up to some invisible standard. It's exhausting. It drains your energy, warps your perspective, and leaves you feeling lost. But here's the solution. Find something bigger than yourself to focus on. The moment you shift your energy toward a mission, a cause, or a responsibility greater than your own comfort, your anxieties start to fade. You stop being so consumed by self-doubt because your focus isn't on yourself. It's on what you're creating, who you're helping, or what you're striving for. Think about the people who have achieved the most in life. The ones who are truly fulfilled, not just successful. They aren't obsessed with themselves. They are obsessed with what they're building. Elon Musk isn't spending his days wondering if people think he's cool. He's too busy trying to put humans on Mars. Mother Teresa wasn't worried about whether she looked good enough in the mirror. She was focused on helping the poor. This isn't about being a saint. It's about realizing that the more time you spend fixated on your own problems, the more powerless you feel. But when you commit to something beyond yourself, you unlock a deep well of motivation and fulfillment. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's building a business that helps others. Maybe it's dedicating yourself to a craft, a skill, or a mission that adds value to the world. The point is to get out of your own head and focus on something that actually matters. There's a reason why people who serve others, whether in leadership, mentorship, or even small acts of kindness, feel a sense of purpose. Because when you make your life about something bigger, the weight of your personal worries shrinks. If you constantly feel stuck in your own thoughts, ask yourself, what am I working toward that's greater than my own comfort? If you don't have an answer, it's time to find one. Success is personal. Stop comparing and carve your own path. Too many people live their lives chasing someone else's definition of success. They see influencers traveling the world, CEOs making millions, or fitness gurus flaunting their perfect bodies, and they assume that is what success should look like. So they start running after goals that aren't even theirs. They think they need to be rich to be happy. They think they need six-pack abs to feel worthy. They think they need a massive following to matter. But deep down, these external markers of success don't bring fulfillment unless they align with what you truly want. This is why so many high achievers feel empty even after they make it. They spent years chasing something only to realize they never actually wanted it. They were just following the blueprint society handed them. Here's the truth. Success is a personal definition. What makes one person happy might not fulfill you at all. That's why comparing your life to someone else's is not only pointless, it's destructive. Maybe your extraordinary life looks like running a billion-dollar company. Maybe it looks like owning a small cabin in the woods, free from stress. Maybe it looks like having a family, building a legacy, or mastering an art form. Whatever it is, it has to be yours. When you define success for yourself, you free yourself from the trap of unfair comparisons. You stop looking at someone else's journey and feeling like you're behind. You stop chasing things that don't align with your values. Instead, you focus on what actually brings you joy, purpose, and meaning. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own. How often do you let other people's lives dictate how you feel about your own? If you're constantly measuring your worth by what others have, you will always feel like you're lacking something. There will always be someone ahead of you, someone richer, fitter, more successful. If your happiness depends on winning that race, you will never be happy. The key to real fulfillment is to step back and ask, what do I actually want? Strip away the expectations, the pressure, the noise of social media. What would make your life extraordinary to you? Once you define that, your path becomes clear. You no longer waste time trying to keep up with people who aren't even running the same race as you. You put your energy where it actually matters, on building a life that fulfills you, not impresses others. Growth happens in stages. Don't judge yourself against someone further ahead. One of the biggest mistakes people make is comparing their chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. They look at successful entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, or even just their peers who seem to have everything figured out and feel like they're falling behind. But growth doesn't work like that. It happens in stages, and each stage has its own purpose. Imagine planting a tree. You don't expect it to bear fruit overnight. First, it has to take root. Then, it slowly grows, weathering storms, adapting to its environment, and strengthening its foundation. Only after years of steady growth does it reach its full potential. Your life works the same way. The problem is, most people only see the end result of success. They see the billionaire at the top of his game, not the years he spent struggling in obscurity. They see the athlete winning championships, not the brutal training sessions that took place when no one was watching. They see the author with a best-selling book, not the drafts that were rejected over and over. This is why unfair comparisons are so dangerous. They make you feel like you're failing, even when you're right where you need to be. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Think only of how you can be better yourself." The only comparison that matters is the one between who you are today and who you were yesterday. If you're growing, learning, and improving, even if the progress is slow, you're winning. Instead of focusing on how far you have to go, look at how far you've come. 5 years ago, you were probably struggling with things that are second nature to you now. 10 years ago, you might not have even imagined the opportunities you have today. The key is patience. Success is a long game. There will be times when it feels like nothing is happening, like you're working hard but getting nowhere. But growth is often invisible until it isn't. Then one day, all that effort compounds, and what once seemed impossible suddenly becomes your new normal. So, stop worrying about where others are in their journey. Their success does not diminish yours. Stay focused on your own path, trust the process, and keep moving forward. Enjoy progress while striving for more, or you'll always feel lacking. Ambition is a powerful force. It drives people to achieve incredible things. But unchecked ambition can also become a trap. If you're constantly chasing more without appreciating what you already have, you'll never feel satisfied. This is the paradox of success. The same drive that pushes you to improve can also rob you of joy if you don't balance it with gratitude. Too many people fall into the mindset of, I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when I make 6 figures. I'll be happy when I have the perfect relationship. But what happens when you reach that milestone? The goalpost moves. Suddenly, 6 figures isn't enough. You want 7. The promotion isn't fulfilling. You want the next one. The relationship is great, but now you want more excitement. This is the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much you achieve, your mind adapts, and you find yourself wanting more. That's why you must actively practice gratitude. Not in a passive, be thankful for what you have kind of way, but in a deliberate, structured way that reprograms your mindset. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Gratitude isn't about settling. It doesn't mean you stop striving for success. It means that while you're reaching for the next level, you're also taking the time to appreciate where you are now. Here's how you can start. Reflect on your past wins. Think about what you once wanted that you have now. You probably worked hard for things that at one point felt impossible. Don't let them go unnoticed. Celebrate small victories. Every step forward is progress. Don't just celebrate the big wins. Appreciate the small milestones too. Reframe "I have to" into "I get to." Instead of thinking, "I have to work out," think, "I get to work out because I have a healthy body." Instead of, "I have to work on my business," think, "I get to build something meaningful." This shift changes everything. Ground yourself in the present. Future goals are important, but joy exists in the now. If you're always living for the next thing, you'll miss life as it's happening. Gratitude doesn't just make you happier, it makes you more effective. When you appreciate your progress, you create a positive feedback loop that fuels more success. Instead of feeling like you're always behind, you feel motivated because you recognize how far you've come. The most successful people in the world aren't just the ones who achieve the most. They're the ones who learn to enjoy the process. If you master that balance, ambition and gratitude, you'll never feel lacking again. Fear-driven motivation is unstable and short-lived. Many people start their journey to success fueled by fear. Fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of not being enough. In the short term, this can be a powerful motivator. If you're terrified of being broke, you'll hustle to make money. If you're scared of disappointing others, you'll push yourself to succeed. But here's the problem. Fear-based motivation is not sustainable. When you operate from fear, you're always running from something, not toward something. You're reactive instead of proactive. And even when you succeed, you don't feel satisfied. You just find a new fear to chase. That's why many people who make it still feel anxious. They built their success on fear. So the moment they achieve their goal, they need another fear to keep them going. It becomes a cycle of never feeling good enough. The shift happens when you transition from fear motivation to vision motivation. Instead of saying, "I need to work hard or I'll fail," you start saying, "I want to work hard because I love what I'm building." Here's how you do it. Recognize fear-driven thoughts. Are you working hard because you genuinely want to, or because you're afraid of what happens if you don't? Awareness is the first step. Reframe fear into excitement. Physiologically, fear and excitement are almost identical. Heart rate increases, adrenaline kicks in. The difference is your interpretation. Instead of "I'm scared of failing," tell yourself, "I'm excited to take on this challenge." Find a purpose greater than fear. Fear fades. Passion and purpose last. If you find something meaningful to work toward, you won't need fear to push you. Your vision will pull you. Fear can be a spark, but it shouldn't be your fuel. If you want lasting success, you need something deeper, something that excites you, inspires you, and gives you a reason to keep going, even when there's nothing to be afraid of anymore. Motivation from fear fades. Lasting success comes from purpose and inspiration. Fear can be an effective motivator. It pushes people to act. The fear of failure can make you work harder. The fear of poverty can drive you to chase success. The fear of being alone can make you put effort into relationships. But fear-based motivation has a major flaw. It doesn't last. Think about it. If fear is your primary driver, what happens when the fear is gone? Once you've made enough money to be comfortable, the desperation to grind 24/7 fades. Once you've proven yourself, the need to impress others weakens. When fear is no longer present, the motivation it provided disappears with it. That's why so many people hit their goals only to feel empty afterward. They worked so hard to avoid something, but they never built a purpose to move toward. The key to lasting motivation isn't running from something, it's running toward something. The best kind of success comes when your actions are fueled by passion, curiosity, and a sense of meaning, not just anxiety about failure. This shift is profound. Fear might get you started, but purpose is what keeps you going. Purpose gives you intrinsic motivation, a fire inside you that doesn't burn out because it's not dependent on external circumstances. It comes from knowing you're doing something worthwhile. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that challenges, rather than something to fear, should be seen as stepping stones. Instead of being driven by the fear of failure, let the challenge itself inspire you to grow. So how do you transition from fear-based motivation to inspiration-based motivation? Identify what excites you. Instead of only focusing on what you don't want, ask yourself, what do I love to do? What impact do I want to have? What excites me enough to keep going, even when no one is watching? Reframe struggles as opportunities. Fear turns obstacles into threats. Inspiration sees them as challenges to overcome. Every setback is a lesson, every failure a step forward. Focus on contribution. The most fulfilled people in the world don't just chase personal success. They use their skills to serve others. When your motivation comes from making an impact, it never runs out. Fear is a useful starting point, but it's not a long-term strategy. The most successful and fulfilled people don't rely on fear to keep them moving. They find something bigger than themselves that fuels them long after fear fades. Willpower is finite. Being pulled by a vision provides limitless energy. Most people rely on push motivation to achieve their goals. They use discipline, willpower, and external pressure to force themselves to work harder, stay consistent, and push through obstacles. While these are valuable tools, they have a major limitation: they run out. Willpower is like a battery. It drains throughout the day. That's why you can start the morning full of motivation, but by the evening you just want to relax, procrastinate, or make excuses. Relying on willpower alone is an exhausting way to achieve success.
Solution? Pull motivation. Hey.
Instead of forcing yourself to do something, imagine being pulled toward it effortlessly. Think about the difference between pushing a boulder uphill and being pulled forward by a powerful magnet. That's the difference between relying on willpower and being pulled by a vision. Pull motivation happens when you have a goal so exciting, so deeply meaningful that you want to work toward it. You don't have to force yourself to show up. You're naturally drawn to it. Steve Jobs once said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." This doesn't mean you'll love every moment of the process. Every goal has difficult parts. But it does mean that your why is strong enough to keep you going without needing to constantly push yourself. How do you create pull motivation? Clarify your vision. What kind of life excites you? What work would you do even if no one paid you? What makes you feel alive? A clear vision acts as a magnet, drawing you forward. Connect your goals to a bigger purpose. People burn out when their goals feel empty. If you tie your work to something meaningful, helping others, solving a problem, leaving a legacy, it stops feeling like a grind and starts feeling like a mission. Make progress feel rewarding. One reason people struggle with motivation is that they only focus on the end goal. But success isn't a single event. It's a process. Find ways to make progress enjoyable, whether it's tracking milestones, celebrating small wins, or simply reminding yourself how far you've come. Remove unnecessary friction. The harder it is to do something, the more willpower it requires. If you want to read more, keep books where you'll see them. If you want to work out, make your gym sessions automatic. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from your house. Pull motivation happens when the path is so clear that it feels effortless to take action. Relying on willpower alone is a losing strategy. It's too limited. But if you have a vision that excites you, you'll wake up every day feeling pulled toward it without needing to force yourself. Engineer joy into your life. Most people think joy is something that happens to them. They believe they'll be happy once they reach their goals, once they have more free time, once they've earned enough money. But happiness isn't something you wait for. It's something you create. If you don't deliberately build joy into your life, it won't just magically appear. Success without joy leads to burnout, emptiness, and feeling like nothing is ever enough. The smartest approach isn't to choose between ambition and happiness. It's to engineer a life where you can have both. Think about the most successful people you admire, the ones who stay successful, not just the ones who burn out after a few years. They don't just grind non-stop. They build routines, environments, and habits that make success feel fulfilling. Here's how you can do the same. Design your environment for happiness. The people you surround yourself with, the places you spend time in, and even the small details of your daily routine all impact your joy. Ask yourself, does my environment support the life I want to live? If not, change it. Schedule fun like a priority. If you don't plan for joy, it gets drowned out by responsibilities. Whether it's hobbies, social time, or moments of rest, put joy on your calendar just like you would a work meeting. Pursue progress, not just achievement. The biggest trap ambitious people fall into is thinking happiness comes after success. But happiness comes from progress. If you're learning, improving, and moving forward, even slowly, you'll feel fulfilled. Rewire your mindset for gratitude. No matter how much you achieve, your brain will always want more unless you actively train it to appreciate the present. Start each day by listing things you're grateful for. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already great. Success and happiness aren't opposites. They should go hand in hand. The happiest, most fulfilled people don't just chase their goals. They engineer a life where joy is built into the process. If you can master that, you won't just achieve more, you'll enjoy the journey along the way. Most people think fun and creativity are things that just happen when the time is right. But the truth is, if you don't design your life to make them a natural part of your routine, they get buried under stress, responsibilities, and the endless chase for success. The problem is, when life becomes all work and no play, you don't just lose joy, you lose the ability to think creatively, solve problems, and sustain long-term motivation. Play isn't just for kids. It's one of the most important tools for high performers, entrepreneurs, and thinkers. It fuels innovation, sharpens the mind, and makes life worth living. The people who stay at the top of their game the longest aren't the ones who grind 24/7. They're the ones who know how to recharge, have fun, and think differently. Think about history's greatest minds. Einstein played the violin to relax, Steve Jobs took long walks to think, and Richard Branson kitesurfs to clear his mind. These activities weren't distractions from their work. They were essential to their success. The problem is, most people wait for fun. They say, "I'll have fun when I have more free time. I'll do something creative when things slow down." But that never happens. The responsibilities, the stress, and the endless to-do lists don't disappear. If anything, they pile up. That's why you need to design your life so fun, and creativity aren't optional, they're automatic. Here's how you do it. Engineer an environment that encourages play. If you want to play music, leave your guitar out where you can see it. If you want to sketch more, keep a notebook nearby. If you want to have deeper conversations with friends, create spaces in your home that invite that energy. Maybe a cozy corner with no screens. Schedule fun like you schedule work. If you wait until you feel like having fun, you'll never do it. High performers block time for activities that recharge them. Put it on your calendar. Treat it like an appointment. Surround yourself with playful people. Your energy is contagious. If you're around people who never laugh, take life too seriously, and always focus on problems, you'll absorb that energy. Find people who challenge you, joke with you, and bring excitement to your life. Reintroduce curiosity into your life. Kids ask questions about everything. They explore. They experiment. But as adults, most people stop doing that. They only engage with things that seem productive. Change that. Read about topics that have nothing to do with your job. Take up a hobby that doesn't have a financial goal attached to it. Follow your curiosity with no agenda. Move your body in ways that feel fun. If going to the gym feels like a chore, find another way to stay active. Dance, surf, play a sport, go for a hike. Movement fuels creativity and happiness, but it shouldn't feel like a punishment. The Stoics weren't against fun. They were against wasting time on things that didn't serve you. The difference? Play does serve you. It makes you sharper, more creative, and more energized. If you design your life for fun, you won't just enjoy life more. You'll become better at everything you do. Your perspective shapes your reality. Train yourself to see opportunities. Most people walk through life believing that their circumstances determine their happiness. They think, if only I had more money, I'd feel secure. If only I had the right relationship, I'd feel fulfilled. If only I had the perfect job, I'd be happy. But happiness and success don't come from perfect circumstances. They come from how you perceive your circumstances. Two people can go through the exact same event, but experience it in completely different ways. One sees a crisis, the other sees an opportunity. One feels stuck, the other feels challenged. One gives up, the other grows stronger. The difference? Perspective. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." That means training your mind to focus on what's right instead of what's wrong. It's not about ignoring problems. It's about shifting your perspective so you're not blinded by them. Here's how you do it. Practice gratitude as a discipline, not a feeling. Most people think gratitude is something you feel when things are going well, but real gratitude is a skill. It's the ability to find something good even when things aren't perfect. Every morning, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be huge, just enough to shift your mind into a positive state. Reframe problems into challenges. Instead of saying, "Why does this always happen to me?" start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," say, "This is making me stronger." Language shapes reality. The way you describe your problems determines how much power they have over you. Train your brain to look for solutions. The mind naturally focuses on threats and problems. It's wired for survival. But if you constantly focus on problems, you attract more problems. Shift your focus to solutions. When a challenge arises, don't just complain. Immediately ask, "What can I do about this?" Even a small action will break the cycle of negativity. Eliminate negativity triggers. Your environment plays a huge role in shaping your perspective. If you're constantly consuming negative news, surrounding yourself with people who complain, and focusing on worst-case scenarios, your brain will default to negativity. Protect your mind like you protect your body. Don't feed it garbage. Visualize success, not just failure. Many people spend hours imagining worst-case scenarios, preparing for everything that could go wrong. But how often do you imagine things going right? Close your eyes and see yourself succeeding. Feel the confidence. Experience the win in your mind before it happens in reality. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It will start acting accordingly. Use setbacks as a testing ground. Every time life throws a problem at you, see it as a chance to test your mental strength. Instead of getting frustrated, tell yourself, "This is a game. Let's see how well I can handle it." By turning problems into tests, you take back control. You're no longer the victim of your circumstances, but the master of your mindset. Life is full of problems. That's a fact. But how you interpret those problems determines how you experience life. If you train yourself to focus on what's right, what's possible, and what you can control, you'll not only be happier, you'll be unstoppable. Your 3 daily decisions shape your entire life. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're making 3 crucial decisions that shape your emotions, your actions, and ultimately, your destiny. What you focus on. Do you focus on what's missing or what you have? On problems or solutions? On setbacks or lessons? Your focus determines your emotional state, and your emotional state determines your actions. What meaning you assign? Nothing in life has meaning except the meaning you give it. If you lose a job, you can choose to see it as a failure or as an opportunity for something better. If someone criticizes you, you can see it as an attack or as valuable feedback. Change the meaning, and you change how you feel, what action you take. You can react emotionally, or you can respond strategically. You can let fear hold you back, or you can take action despite it. You can wait for life to change, or you can be the one who changes it. Most people make these decisions unconsciously, which is why they feel like life is out of their control. But when you start making these choices deliberately, everything changes. If you master these 3 decisions, focus, meaning, and action, you master your emotions. And when you master your emotions, you master your life. Most people believe that life happens to them. They think circumstances dictate their emotions, their success, and their level of fulfillment. But the truth is, it's not the events of your life that shape you. It's how you interpret them. Every single day, you make 3 unconscious decisions that determine your reality. What you focus on. Do you focus on what's missing or what you have? On problems or solutions? On setbacks or lessons? Your focus determines your emotions, and your emotions determine your actions. What meaning you assign. Nothing has meaning except the meaning you give it. If you lose a job, you can see it as a failure or as a stepping stone to something better. If someone criticizes you, you can take it as an attack or as valuable feedback. The meaning you assign to events controls your emotional state. What action you take. Do you react emotionally or respond strategically? Do you let fear paralyze you, or do you take action despite it? The choices you make after interpreting a situation shape the direction of your life. Most people make these decisions on autopilot. They don't realize they have a choice, so they stay trapped in cycles of frustration, stress, and negativity. But the moment you become aware of these 3 decisions, you take back control. Think of someone who gets cut off in traffic. One person might explode in anger, cursing and letting the frustration ruin their day. Another person might shrug it off, thinking, maybe that guy is rushing to the hospital, and move on without stress. The event was the same. The only difference was how they chose to interpret it. Now, take this to a bigger scale. 2 people lose their jobs. One spirals into self-doubt, depression, and fear. The other sees it as a chance to finally start that business they've been dreaming of. Again, same event. Completely different realities, all because of focus, meaning, and action. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about training yourself to direct your mind where it serves you best. If you focus on problems, your brain will find more problems. If you focus on solutions, your brain will get to work finding them. If you assign negative meanings to setbacks, you'll feel defeated. If you see setbacks as lessons, you'll get stronger. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And that response determines your entire life. Change your interpretation of challenges to use them as fuel for success. Most people see setbacks as evidence that they're not good enough, that they've failed, or that life is against them. But if you study the most successful people in history, you'll find one thing in common. They reframe setbacks as fuel for growth. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before inventing the light bulb. When asked about it, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's the mindset of someone who refuses to let setbacks define them. Stoicism teaches that obstacles are the path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the challenge itself isn't blocking your progress. It is your progress. Every difficulty is a lesson, a test, or a stepping stone to something greater. The problem is, most people never choose how they interpret setbacks. They let their emotions take over, which leads to frustration, self-doubt, and quitting too soon. But what if you changed the way you looked at challenges? What if you started seeing them as necessary? Here's how you do it. Immediately ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Every setback holds a lesson. Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's exposing a weakness you need to strengthen. Maybe it's redirecting you to something better. Shift from frustration to curiosity. Instead of getting angry when something goes wrong, get curious. Ask yourself, how can I turn this around? What's another way to approach this? The moment you approach a problem with curiosity instead of frustration, your brain starts working for you instead of against you. See resistance as proof of progress. If you're struggling, it means you're growing. No one builds muscle without resistance. No one develops resilience without challenges. When you feel resistance, instead of backing down, recognize it as a sign that you're leveling up. Turn pain into power. The strongest people aren't the ones who had easy lives. They're the ones who transformed their pain into strength. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of a concentration camp, wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." That's the ultimate power, using suffering as fuel to become stronger. Adopt the belief that nothing is wasted. Most people see failures as wasted time, but nothing is wasted if you learn from it. Every failed relationship, every bad investment, every rejection, it all taught you something. If you absorb the lessons, you walk away wiser, stronger, and better prepared for your next move. Detach from the outcome. Focus on the process. People get discouraged because they tie their self-worth to immediate results. If they fail, they take it personally. But if you focus on the process instead of the outcome, you'll keep going. You'll see failures as experiments, not verdicts on your ability. A setback is only a setback if you allow it to be. If you choose to reframe it, it becomes a lesson, a stepping stone, and fuel for your next breakthrough. Life will test you. Challenges will come. But the people who win in the end aren't the ones who avoid struggles. They're the ones who learn, adapt, and use those struggles to rise higher than they ever thought possible. Most people spend their lives chasing personal success. More money, more status, more validation, believing that fulfillment comes from stacking achievements. But the truth is, real joy doesn't come from what you get. It comes from what you give. If you've ever felt empty after reaching a goal, it's because personal achievement alone isn't enough. Once you meet your own needs, a deeper hunger emerges, the need to contribute, to serve, to make an impact beyond yourself. Psychologists call this self-transcendence. It's the highest form of fulfillment, beyond even self-actualization, and history proves it. Look at the happiest, most fulfilled people, whether it's Mother Teresa, Marcus Aurelius, or modern entrepreneurs who dedicate their wealth to philanthropy. They all found something beyond themselves to serve. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." Your impact on others lasts far longer than any personal achievement. True success is measured not just by what you accomplish, but by how many lives you touch. So how do you shift from achievement to contribution? Start small. You don't need to build a billion-dollar charity. Contribution starts with daily actions, mentoring someone, helping a friend in need, or even just being kind to a stranger. The act of giving, no matter how small, rewires your brain for fulfillment. Make service a habit. The world constantly tells you to focus on you, your goals, your brand, your success. But the happiest people train themselves to ask, how can I add value to others today? This doesn't mean neglecting yourself. It means recognizing that giving enhances your own well-being. Detach from rewards. Don't serve others because you expect something in return. Do it because it changes you. When you help someone, your own problems feel smaller. Your perspective shifts. Your sense of purpose expands. Turn pain into purpose. The strongest leaders didn't just rise on success. They turned their struggles into lessons for others. If you've been through hardship, your experiences have value. Share them. Use them to lift others who are going through the same thing. Surround yourself with people who give. Contribution is contagious. If you're around people who hoard knowledge, resources, or opportunities, you'll do the same. But if you surround yourself with givers, people who freely help and support, you'll absorb that mindset. The paradox is this: the more you focus on serving others, the more fulfillment, success, and joy you create for yourself. Helping others isn't self-sacrifice, it's self-expansion. When you elevate others, you elevate yourself. Fear thrives in uncertainty. It paralyzes you when you don't understand what's happening, when you can't predict the future, when chaos seems to be closing in from every direction. But here's the truth most people never realize. Life isn't as unpredictable as it seems. If you know how to recognize patterns, you can anticipate challenges, reduce fear, and move forward with confidence. Look at history. Economies rise and fall in cycles. Technology advances in predictable patterns. Even human behavior, how people react to stress, opportunity, and crisis, follows familiar trends. Once you learn to spot these patterns, you realize that most fears are illusions. The Stoics knew this. They studied nature, history, and human behavior to understand that nothing is truly new. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look at the past. Everything that happens now has happened before. If you believe your problems are unique, they will overwhelm you. But if you see them as part of a larger cycle, they lose their power over you." So, how do you train yourself to recognize patterns and eliminate fear? Study history, because history repeats itself. Whether in business, relationships, or personal growth, the same challenges have been faced before. If you're struggling with failure, look at how the greatest minds handled setbacks. If you're uncertain about the future, study economic cycles, leadership patterns, or even ancient philosophy. The more you see these cycles, the less fear controls you. Look for personal patterns. Fear often comes from the unknown, but if you track your past, you'll see that many of your struggles follow predictable patterns. Maybe you always panic before a big opportunity. Maybe you repeat the same relationship mistakes. Once you see these patterns, you can break them. Reframe fear as information. Fear is not your enemy. It's a signal. Instead of reacting emotionally, ask yourself, what is this fear trying to tell me? Am I unprepared? Am I repeating an old mistake? Is this discomfort actually a sign of growth? When you analyze fear logically, you strip it of its power. Train your mind for predictability. Fear thrives in chaos, but if you learn to anticipate, you stay in control. Athletes train by simulating high-pressure situations. Leaders study past failures to avoid repeating them. The more you expose yourself to potential challenges in advance, the less they shake you when they happen. Accept that uncertainty is part of life. Even when you recognize patterns, life will still throw unexpected challenges at you. But instead of fearing them, see them as opportunities to apply what you've learned. Stoicism teaches that resilience doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from mastering your own mind. Fear loses its grip the moment you realize that nothing is truly unknown. When you recognize that everything follows patterns, whether in life, history, or personal growth, you gain the ability to predict, adapt, and overcome. Fear no longer paralyzes you. It fuels your wisdom. Life is not a straight line. It's a series of repeating cycles. Just like nature moves through seasons, your life moves through phases: growth, struggle, success, renewal. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that their current situation will last forever. When things are going well, they assume they'll never face hardship again. When things are falling apart, they assume they'll never recover. Both are illusions. History has proven that everything follows cycles. Economies crash and recover. Empires rise and fall. Even in your personal life, you've likely had moments of struggle, followed by moments of breakthrough. The key to navigating life with less anxiety is learning to see these patterns instead of reacting emotionally to every high and low. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe how everything is always the same. Familiar events recur in a cycle. If you accept this truth, you can face challenges with more clarity. Instead of panicking when times are hard, you can remind yourself, this is just a season. It will pass." Instead of becoming complacent when things are easy, you can remind yourself, this won't last forever. Stay prepared. Here's how to train your mind to recognize cycles and reduce anxiety. Look at your own past cycles. What patterns do you see in your life? Have there been repeated phases of struggle followed by growth? Times where you thought you were stuck, only to later realize it was a necessary transition? Recognizing these patterns gives you confidence that no matter what you're facing, you've gotten through it before, and you will again. Study history and human behavior. The same financial crashes, leadership mistakes, and societal shifts have happened for centuries. Learning from the past can help you anticipate what's coming. When you see that everything moves in cycles, you stop fearing the unknown. Develop patience. Anxiety often comes from resisting the natural flow of life. You want results now, you want certainty now, you want success now. But life doesn't work that way. The farmer doesn't plant seeds and expect a harvest the next day. He understands the cycle. Trust the process. Use hard times to prepare for good times. Every difficult season is a training ground for the future. Instead of resenting it, ask, what skills can I develop now? What lessons can I learn that will help me later? Growth happens in the struggle, not the comfort. Accept that no phase lasts forever. Nothing stays the same, neither success nor failure. Instead of attaching your happiness to a single moment, anchor it in your ability to adapt. When things are going well, be grateful but stay humble. When things are tough, stay strong and keep moving forward. Recognizing that life moves in cycles gives you power over fear. You stop seeing setbacks as permanent and start viewing them as temporary phases that prepare you for something greater. With this mindset, you navigate life with resilience, patience, and confidence. Most people spend their lives either trapped in the past or lost in the future. They replay old mistakes, relive painful memories, or dwell on regrets. Or they live in constant anticipation, chasing the next milestone, the next goal, the next achievement, believing that one day they'll finally be happy. But the truth is, the only place where joy, peace, and fulfillment exist is in the present moment. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future, because no matter how much success you achieve, if you can't be present now, you'll never feel fulfilled." But this doesn't mean ignoring the future. The goal is to balance present moment awareness with ambition. Too much focus on the future leads to anxiety. Too much focus on the present without any long-term vision leads to stagnation. The key is integrating both, planning for the future while fully living in the now. Here's how to master this balance. Detach from past regrets. Your past is done. No amount of overthinking will change it. Instead of reliving past failures, ask, "What can I learn?" Then apply the lesson and move forward. Letting go of the past doesn't mean ignoring it. It means refusing to let it control your present. Stop postponing happiness. If you think you'll only be happy when you hit a certain goal, you'll never be satisfied. Every time you reach a milestone, your mind will set a new one, keeping you in a cycle of never enough. Instead of saying, "I'll be happy when I achieve X," shift to "I'm grateful now while working toward X." Practice mindfulness daily. The mind is constantly jumping, either replaying the past or worrying about the future. Training yourself to return to the present is a skill. Meditation, deep breathing, and gratitude exercises help you develop awareness. Even something simple, like feeling the warmth of the sun or noticing your breath, grounds you in the moment. Use ambition as fuel, not an escape. Goals are important, but they shouldn't be an excuse to avoid living. Some people obsess over future success because they're running from present discomfort. The healthiest approach is to work toward your goals while enjoying the journey. Set future intentions, but don't attach your happiness to outcomes. It's good to plan, but don't let your well-being depend on whether everything goes exactly as expected. The Stoics taught that we control our efforts, not the results. Focus on what you can do today and trust that the future will take care of itself. Mastering this mindset transforms your life. You stay ambitious but content. You pursue success but remain grounded. You learn from the past but don't dwell on it. You prepare for the future but don't fear it. And in doing so, you unlock a level of inner peace that few people ever experience. Life will test you. It will throw obstacles in your way, break your plans, and challenge everything you thought you knew. The difference between those who succeed and those who crumble isn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It's resilience. Emotional resilience isn't about avoiding pain. It's about developing the strength to endure it without losing yourself. It's about learning to take setbacks, failures, and disappointments and turn them into fuel for growth. Stoicism is built on this principle. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This is what resilience is. Controlling your response, no matter what life throws at you. Here's how to develop unshakable mental and emotional resilience. Embrace discomfort instead of running from it. Growth never comes from comfort. If you constantly avoid struggle, you'll never develop strength. Start seeing challenges as training. When life tests you, ask, "What is this teaching me? How is this making me stronger?" Detach from things outside your control. Anxiety and stress often come from trying to control the uncontrollable. The Stoics mastered resilience by focusing only on what they could influence: their actions, their mindset, their discipline. Everything else, they let it go. Reframe setbacks as opportunities. The greatest successes often come from what seemed like failures. If something doesn't go your way, don't see it as an end. See it as a pivot. Ask, how can I use this? What new door is opening because of this? Build an anti-fragile mindset. Some people break under pressure. Others survive but remain the same. But the strongest people, those with true resilience, grow stronger from difficulty. This is called being anti-fragile. It means you don't just endure stress, you use it to become better. Train your emotional discipline. When things go wrong, most people react emotionally: anger, frustration, fear. But emotions are temporary. Resilience means learning to pause before reacting. Take a breath. Step back. Ask, what's the best response here? This single habit can change everything. The world is unpredictable. Challenges will come. But if you build mental and emotional resilience, nothing can shake you. You'll walk through storms with calm. You'll turn setbacks into stepping stones. You'll rise stronger every time life knocks you down. And in the end, you will win. Life is not meant to be easy. Every challenge, every setback, every heartbreak is forging you into something stronger. The most resilient people in the world are not the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who endured the fire and refused to break. They took their pain and turned it into power. Look at history. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and revolutionaries were shaped by struggle. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, faced betrayal, war, and personal loss throughout his reign as emperor. Yet, instead of succumbing to bitterness or despair, he used his suffering as a teacher. His meditations, which were never meant to be published, are filled with reminders to himself. You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is the mindset that separates those who grow from adversity and those who are crushed by it. Hardships are inevitable, but suffering is a choice. If you believe that your struggles are ruining you, they will. If you believe that they are making you stronger, they will. Pain is fuel if you know how to use it. Reframe your hardships as preparation, not punishment. Life isn't out to get you. Every challenge is an opportunity to sharpen your skills, build resilience, and develop wisdom. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" See your past wounds as battle scars, not weaknesses. Some people let their pain define them. They carry their past like a burden, constantly reliving their struggles and using them as an excuse. But others take that same pain and wear it like armor. They say, "I've been through worse. This will not break me." Embrace voluntary discomfort. The more you seek out controlled hardship, the stronger you become. This is why Stoics practiced fasting, cold exposure, and physical strain. Not because they had to, but because it made them mentally unshakable. If you willingly put yourself in difficult situations, life's unexpected challenges will feel easier. Let go of attachment to an easy life. If you expect things to always go your way, every obstacle will feel like an injustice. But if you expect life to be challenging, you'll be prepared. The Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum, visualizing worst-case scenarios. so that if difficulties arose, they wouldn't be shocked or unprepared. Channel your pain into something productive. Some of the most successful people turned their darkest moments into motivation. They didn't just endure suffering, they transformed it into art, innovation, wisdom, and action. What can you create from your struggles? How can you use your past to fuel your future? The truth is, pain is inevitable. But what you do with that pain is up to you. Will it break you, or will it forge you into something greater? Most people don't realize how much power they're giving away. Every time they blame circumstances, other people, or their past for their problems, they're handing over control of their life. They remain stuck, waiting for someone or something to change. But the hard truth is, no one is coming to save them. Blame is a prison. It keeps you trapped in the past, replaying your pain, convincing you that you're powerless. The moment you let go of the victim mentality and take full responsibility for your life, you set yourself free. This isn't about denying that bad things have happened to you. Life is unfair. People betray you. Unexpected disasters hit. But dwelling on these things doesn't change them. It only keeps you in a cycle of resentment and stagnation. The only way forward is to shift from "Why did this happen to me?" to "What am I going to do about it?" Here's how to break free from victimhood. Stop waiting for external solutions. If you believe someone else, your parents, your boss, the government, society, owes you something, you'll stay stuck. No one is coming to fix your life. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you'll take action. Own your choices. Even if something wasn't your fault, your response to it is your responsibility. You can't control what happens, but you can always control how you react. The moment you take full ownership of your actions, thoughts, and emotions, you reclaim your power. Rewrite your narrative. If you define yourself as a victim, you will live as one. If you define yourself as someone who overcomes, who rises above challenges, you will act accordingly. Change the story you tell yourself about who you are. Forgive, not for them, but for yourself. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing what happened. It means freeing yourself from the weight of it. Focus on what you can control. Most people waste their energy complaining about things they have no power over, but the most successful people obsess over what they can change: their mindset, their actions, their habits. Shift your attention to what's in your hands. Turn adversity into strength. Some of the most inspiring figures in history faced unimaginable hardship. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison and walked out not with bitterness, but with the strength to change a nation. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote Man's Search for Meaning, proving that even in the worst conditions, we can find purpose and meaning. If they could take control of their lives in those circumstances, what excuse do you have? Choose growth over comfort. The victim mentality keeps you in a state of inaction. Real freedom comes from stepping into discomfort, challenging yourself, and embracing responsibility. The more you push yourself beyond your perceived limits, the more you realize how powerful you truly are. The world doesn't reward victimhood. It rewards those who take ownership of their lives, who rise above challenges, and who refuse to let circumstances define them. When you let go of the need to blame and start focusing on solutions, you take back control. And once you do that, nothing can stop you. Success isn't something that happens by accident. The people who achieve fulfillment, wealth, and happiness aren't just lucky. They design their lives to produce those outcomes. They don't leave things to chance. They build their environment, habits, and routines in a way that naturally leads to success. You are the architect of your own life. Every decision you make, how you structure your days, who you surround yourself with, what habits you cultivate, shapes your future. If you're not intentional, you'll drift aimlessly, reacting to life instead of directing it. Here's how to engineer a life of success and fulfillment. Audit your environment. Your surroundings shape your behavior more than you realize. If you're constantly around negativity, distractions, and low-value people, your life will reflect that. Design an environment that makes success automatic. Build high-value habits. Small, consistent actions lead to massive results over time. Wake up early, exercise, read, meditate, journal. These habits compound into transformation. Surround yourself with people who elevate you. Jim Rohn said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." If your circle is filled with complainers, procrastinators, and negative thinkers, guess what? That energy is contagious. Choose wisely. Optimize your routines for peak performance. Success is about systems, not willpower. If you have to force yourself to be productive every day, you're doing it wrong. Create routines that set you up for success automatically. Eliminate distractions ruthlessly. The modern world is designed to hijack your attention. Social media, endless notifications, entertainment. It's all engineered to keep you unfocused. If you don't take control of your attention, someone else will. Align your actions with your long-term vision. Every day, ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now moving me toward the life I want? If not, make changes. Don't let short-term comfort steal your long-term fulfillment. Commit to lifelong learning. The people who win in life are the ones who never stop growing. Read books, study successful people, invest in yourself. The more you learn, the more valuable you become. A fulfilling, successful life isn't something that happens to you. It's something you build, brick by brick, with every choice you make. So start designing your life with intention, because if you don't, someone else will do it for you. Most people believe they need more motivation to succeed. They wait for the right moment, the perfect burst of energy, or a sign from the universe before they take action. But motivation is unreliable. It fades. It's an emotional state that comes and goes. If you want to build a life of success, fulfillment, and mastery, you can't rely on motivation. You need systems. Growth doesn't happen by accident. The most successful people in the world don't wake up every day debating whether they should work hard, exercise, or push themselves. They don't rely on willpower or force themselves into action. Instead, they build their lives in a way that makes success inevitable. They create habits, routines, and systems that naturally push them toward progress. It starts with designing your environment. If you have to fight against constant distractions, temptations, and negative influences, you're making things 10 times harder for yourself. Your environment should work for you, not against you. If you want to read more, leave books where you can see them. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from your house. If you want to focus better, eliminate unnecessary notifications and social media distractions. Your surroundings shape your actions more than you realize. But your environment alone isn't enough. You need routines that set you up for success. Think about the first hour of your day. Do you wake up and immediately scroll your phone, filling your mind with noise? Or do you start with intention, maybe journaling, exercising, or working on something important before the world demands your attention? The way you start your day sets the tone for everything else. High performers don't leave their mornings to chance. They create a system that primes them for focus, productivity, and clarity. Success is not about big dramatic changes. It's about small, daily disciplines that compound over time. If you improve yourself by just 1% every day, those tiny improvements add up exponentially. But most people don't see results fast enough, so they quit. They don't realize that growth is a delayed return on investment. The work you put in today might not pay off for months or even years, but when it does, the results will be massive. One of the most powerful ways to ensure growth is through accountability. When you commit to something publicly, or when someone else is expecting you to follow through, you're far more likely to stay consistent. This is why the most successful people surround themselves with high achievers. They put themselves in environments where growth is the norm. If you spend time with disciplined, focused, and ambitious people, you will rise to their level. If you're surrounded by laziness and mediocrity, you'll inevitably sink to that level too. Another way to engineer progress is by tracking your efforts. What gets measured gets improved. If you want to grow, you need to know where your time, energy, and focus are going. The best performers track their habits, workouts, finances, learning, and goals, not because they love spreadsheets, but because they understand that clarity creates momentum. When you see your progress, even if it's small, you're more likely to keep going. It's not enough to just work hard. You need to work smart. You need a system that takes the decision-making out of the process so that growth happens automatically. Make success the default option, not something you have to struggle for. Most people waste years of their lives trying to figure things out on their own, making the same mistakes that countless others have already made. They struggle, they fail, and they wonder why things aren't working. But the truth is, success is not a mystery. There are patterns, principles, and proven strategies that have been used by those who came before you. If you want to accelerate your growth, you need to learn from those who are ahead of you. Mentors are one of the most powerful shortcuts to success. They have already walked the path you want to take. They've made the mistakes, learned the lessons, and figured out what works. By studying them, you can avoid years of frustration and wasted effort. You can see the patterns in their decisions, their habits, and their mindset, and apply those insights to your own life. Some people assume that a mentor has to be a personal coach, someone they meet with regularly. But mentorship doesn't have to be direct. The greatest minds in history, philosophers, entrepreneurs, artists, and leaders, have left behind books, lectures, and interviews filled with wisdom. You can be mentored by people who lived centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and other Stoic thinkers still influence people today, not because they're alive, but because their teachings are timeless. It's important to seek out people who challenge your thinking. If you only listen to those who reinforce what you already believe, you'll stay in your comfort zone. The best mentors will push you to question your assumptions, think bigger, and act more decisively. They won't tell you what you want to hear. They'll tell you what you need to hear. You don't just learn from what successful people do, you learn from what they avoid. Many of the biggest mistakes in life come from ignorance, arrogance, or a refusal to learn from history. If you study the failures of others, you can sidestep the same traps. Warren Buffett once said, "It's good to learn from your mistakes, but it's even better to learn from other people's mistakes." One of the biggest advantages of learning from those ahead of you is the shift in mindset it creates. When you surround yourself with people who think bigger, operate at a higher level, and have already achieved what you want, it forces you to raise your standards. You start to see what's possible. You realize that the limits you thought were real were just mental barriers. But there's a catch. You have to be willing to apply what you learn. Too many people consume endless books, courses, and advice, but never take action. They collect knowledge, but never use it. Learning is only valuable if it leads to change. Every time you gain a new insight, ask yourself, how can I apply this immediately? Don't just passively absorb information, integrate it into your life. If you don't have direct access to successful people, start by simply emulating them. How do they structure their days? How do they think about problems? How do they handle setbacks? Model their habits, their mindset, and their approach to life. Over time, you'll start to internalize those same patterns, and success will become a natural byproduct of the way you operate. Growth is not about reinventing the wheel. It's about standing on the shoulders of giants. The path has already been laid out by those who came before you. Your job is to study it, apply it, and then, one day, become the person that others can learn from. Life is not a straight path. It moves in cycles, phases of growth, challenge, abundance, and renewal. Yet most people resist these natural shifts, expecting constant progress and success. This resistance is what leads to stress, frustration, and burnout. But once you recognize the seasons of life, you stop fighting the inevitable and start working with it. Spring is the season of learning, discovery, and foundation building. This is where you absorb knowledge, develop skills, and experiment. It's a time of high energy and exploration, but also uncertainty. Many people rush this phase, expecting immediate results, but the truth is that the seeds you plant now won't bear fruit for years. If you're in this stage, your priority should be growth. Soak up as much knowledge and experience as you can. Then comes summer, the season of action and struggle. This is where you put everything you've learned to the test. It's the grind phase, where you work hard, face obstacles, and prove to yourself what you're capable of. Many people give up here because progress feels slow, setbacks are frequent, and the results don't always match the effort. But if you keep pushing, you're laying the foundation for future rewards. Autumn is where things start to click. If you've worked hard and stayed consistent, this is where you begin to see the benefits of your efforts. The business starts making money, the relationships deepen, the skills turn into mastery. This is the phase where you begin to reap what you've sown. But here's the trap. Many people get complacent in this stage. They stop learning, stop growing, and assume that their success will last forever. They forget that winter always comes. Winter is the phase of decline, challenge, and reflection. Businesses slow down, health issues arise, life throws unexpected challenges your way. This is where most people panic. They see setbacks as personal failures instead of recognizing them as part of the cycle. But winter isn't just about loss, it's about preparation. It's where you refine yourself, rebuild, and get ready for the next spring. The people who survive and thrive are the ones who don't fear winter. They expect it, prepare for it, and use it as an opportunity to adapt and come back stronger. Understanding which season you're in allows you to make better decisions. If you're in a spring phase, don't rush success. Focus on learning. If you're in summer, embrace the grind. Keep pushing through. If you're in autumn, don't get complacent. Keep improving. And if you're in winter, don't despair. This too shall pass. The seasons always change, and the key to a stress-free life is knowing when to plant, when to work, when to harvest, and when to rest. The world is changing faster than ever, and those who refuse to adapt will be left behind. In every industry, in every aspect of life, the ability to learn quickly and adjust to new circumstances is the difference between thriving and struggling. Yet, most people resist change. They cling to old ways of thinking, outdated habits, and a false sense of security. They hope that what worked in the past will continue to work in the future. But hope is not a strategy. Adaptability is. There was a time when experience alone was enough. If you had spent decades mastering a craft, you were set for life. But that's no longer the case. The people who succeed today are not just the ones with the most experience, but the ones who can learn, unlearn, and relearn faster than anyone else. The world doesn't reward those who stand still. It rewards those who move, evolve, and reinvent themselves. Think about the biggest names in business, technology, and innovation. They didn't get to where they are by doing the same thing over and over. They anticipated change, adapted early, and embraced the unknown. Apple didn't just stick to computers. They expanded into phones, music, and services. Amazon didn't just sell books. They transformed into the biggest e-commerce and cloud computing giant in the world. The companies and individuals that thrive are the ones that constantly prioritize learning and adaptation. But adaptation isn't just about business. It's about life, relationships, health, personal growth. Everything requires you to evolve. The way you think at 20 should not be the same way you think at 40. The habits that worked for you in one phase of life may no longer serve you in another. The biggest mistake you can make is assuming that what worked before will always work. The key to rapid adaptation is to become a lifelong learner, not just reading books or taking courses, but actively seeking out new challenges, questioning your own beliefs, and exposing yourself to new ideas. Most people stop learning the moment they leave school. They settle into routines, build comfort zones, and resist anything that disrupts their current way of thinking. But if you want to be successful in a world that is constantly evolving, you need to embrace discomfort. You need to make learning a habit, not an occasional event. The best learners are not the smartest people in the room. They are the most curious. They ask better questions, they challenge assumptions, and they experiment without fear of failure. They don't wait until change is forced upon them. They anticipate it and act before they have to. Look at your life right now. Where are you resisting change? What outdated habits, mindsets, or beliefs are holding you back? Are you stuck in a routine that no longer serves you? The sooner you let go of what's no longer working, the sooner you can step into what's next. Because in a world that never stops evolving, the ability to learn and adapt is the greatest skill you can develop. Most people live their lives in a reactive state, constantly responding to problems instead of anticipating them. They wait until a crisis forces them to change, instead of seeing the warning signs early and adjusting their course. This reactive mindset creates unnecessary stress, wasted time, and missed opportunities. But the most successful people, the ones who seem to navigate life effortlessly, aren't just lucky. They are masters of anticipation. Anticipation is the ability to recognize patterns, foresee challenges, and make decisions before a problem fully manifests. It's about understanding that most events in life are not random, but follow predictable cycles. The stock market moves in booms and busts. Businesses go through periods of growth and decline. Personal relationships evolve in stages. Even our emotions follow patterns, times of motivation, burnout, clarity, and confusion. Those who recognize these patterns can prepare in advance, while those who don't are left scrambling when things go wrong. Look at the most successful entrepreneurs, athletes, or leaders. They don't wait for disaster to strike before they act. They study trends, observe behaviors, and stay ahead of the curve. They don't just react to market shifts, they predict them. They don't just fix problems in their business, they prevent them. They don't just recover from failures, they see them coming and adjust before they happen. In contrast, the reactive person operates in survival mode. They wait until they're out of shape before prioritizing their health. They wait until their finances are in ruins before they start budgeting. They wait until their relationship is on the verge of collapse before they work on communication. Living reactively keeps you in a constant state of firefighting, always dealing with emergencies instead of progressing smoothly toward your goals. So, how do you develop anticipation? First, by paying attention. Life leaves clues. Most disasters don't happen overnight, they build up gradually. The signs are always there, but most people ignore them. Your body gives you signs when your health is deteriorating. Your finances give you signs when you're spending recklessly. Your relationships give you signs when they're starting to fall apart. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is that successful people listen to these signs and take action early. Second, by learning from history. History repeats itself, not just on a global scale, but in your personal life as well. If you keep finding yourself in the same struggles, making the same mistakes, or hitting the same roadblocks, it's because you haven't learned the lesson yet. Study your past failures and successes. What patterns do you see? What behaviors led to setbacks, and what mindsets led to breakthroughs? The better you understand your own patterns, the better you can anticipate future outcomes. Lastly, by thinking long-term. Most people focus only on what's immediately in front of them. They chase short-term pleasure without considering long-term consequences. But anticipation requires zooming out. Asking yourself where your current habits, decisions, and beliefs will lead you in 5, 10, or 20 years. If you continue on your current path, where will you end up? If the answer isn't where you want to be, it's time to adjust now, before life forces you to. Anticipation is a skill that separates those who live with control and confidence from those who constantly feel like life is slipping through their fingers. Instead of being someone who always reacts, train yourself to anticipate. It will save you time, energy, and a lifetime of unnecessary struggle. As you move through life, your priorities will shift. What drives you in your 20s will not be the same thing that fulfills you in your 40s. Yet, many people resist this change. They cling to old motivations, not realizing that personal growth requires an evolution of purpose. In the early years of adulthood, most people are driven by the need to prove themselves. They chase success, recognition, and validation. They want to show the world, and often themselves, that they are capable, that they matter, that they are worthy of respect. This drive is natural. It fuels ambition, pushes people to take risks, and forces them to build skills and resilience. However, It's also exhausting. Constantly needing to prove yourself means living under the pressure of external validation. You define success based on what others think of you, rather than what truly fulfills you. But something shifts as you age. If you've worked hard, gained experience, and achieved a level of success, you start to realize that external validation is fleeting. The things you once obsessed over, titles, awards, the approval of peers, lose their importance. Instead, a new priority emerges: meaning. You begin to care less about proving yourself and more about creating something that lasts. Instead of chasing status, you focus on impact. Instead of working just for personal gain, you start thinking about how you can serve others. This is why many people in their 40s and 50s start mentoring, coaching, or giving back to their communities. It's why successful entrepreneurs shift their focus from wealth accumulation to philanthropy. It's why artists and writers begin prioritizing legacy over commercial success. At a certain point, the game changes from one of acquisition to one of contribution. But here's the problem. Many people never allow themselves to make this shift. They stay stuck in the mindset of their younger selves, still chasing validation when they should be pursuing meaning. They keep trying to impress people who no longer matter, clinging to old definitions of success that no longer serve them. This is why you see wealthy individuals who are still unhappy, celebrities who constantly seek attention, or executives who refuse to retire because they don't know who they are without their job titles. To transition successfully, you must actively redefine what success means to you. Ask yourself, what truly matters at this stage of my life? What do I want to create, build, or contribute? If you've spent years focused on career success, maybe now is the time to invest more in relationships. If you've been chasing money, maybe now is the time to focus on experiences. If you've been proving yourself to others, maybe now is the time to work on self-acceptance. There's no single definition of success, and it changes as you grow. The key is to recognize when it's time to shift, rather than holding on to outdated priorities. Life is not just about climbing the ladder. It's about knowing when to step off and build something meaningful. Most people spend their lives chasing personal success, believing that once they have enough money, status, or achievements, they will feel fulfilled. But time and time again, we see wealthy, famous, and successful individuals who are still deeply unhappy. They have everything they thought would make them feel complete, yet they feel empty. Why? Because fulfillment doesn't come from personal gain alone. It comes from contribution. Contribution shifts your focus from yourself to something greater. When you serve others, whether through your work, your knowledge, or your kindness, you tap into a deeper source of meaning. It's not about giving up ambition or success. It's about aligning your success with something that impacts more than just yourself. The most fulfilled people are the ones who find ways to give back. This doesn't mean you have to be a billionaire philanthropist. Contribution comes in many forms: teaching, mentoring, creating something valuable, or simply making a positive impact in your daily interactions. A doctor who saves lives, an artist who inspires others, a parent who raises strong children, an entrepreneur who builds a business that helps people. These are all forms of contribution. The reason contribution leads to deeper fulfillment is that it removes the endless hunger for more. When your success is only about yourself, it's never enough. You reach one milestone and immediately the next goal looms ahead. But when you tie your achievements to service, every success feels meaningful. It's no longer about feeding your ego. It's about making a difference. There's also a practical side to contribution. People who focus on giving often build stronger networks, gain more respect, and create long-term success. The most valuable individuals in any industry are those who offer value to others. The best leaders are not the ones who take, but the ones who lift others up. When you approach life with a mindset of contribution, success naturally follows. But contribution is not just about business or career. It extends into personal relationships. If you go into friendships or romantic relationships always thinking, "What can I get out of this?" you will always be disappointed. The strongest relationships are built on mutual giving, not transactional self-interest. So if you find yourself feeling unfulfilled despite achieving your goals, ask yourself, how am I contributing? Who am I helping? What impact am I making beyond myself? When you shift your focus from personal gain to service, you will find a level of fulfillment that no amount of wealth or status can provide. One of the biggest obstacles to true fulfillment is the relentless need for validation. From an early age, we are conditioned to seek approval, whether from parents, teachers, peers, or society. We learn that praise equals worth and that being liked equals success. But this mindset is a trap. The more you chase approval, the more you give away your power. When you rely on others to validate you, you become a prisoner to their opinions. Your self-worth rises and falls based on external feedback. If people praise you, you feel good. If they criticize you, you feel worthless. This constant dependence on outside validation keeps you in a cycle of anxiety and insecurity. The truth is, no matter what you do, someone will always disapprove. You could be the kindest, most successful, most accomplished person in the world, and there will still be people who criticize you. Seeking universal approval is not only impossible, it's exhausting. The moment you free yourself from this need, you regain control over your life. The people who achieve the most and feel the most fulfilled are not the ones who obsess over what others think. They are the ones who focus on their own standards. They define success on their terms, not based on social expectations. They don't wait for permission to act. They don't seek validation before making decisions. They trust themselves. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or being arrogant. It means learning to differentiate between constructive input and mindless opinions. Listen to people who genuinely care about your growth, but don't waste energy trying to please those who will never be satisfied. One of the greatest forms of self-mastery is the ability to validate yourself, to look in the mirror and know you are enough, not because someone told you, but because you believe it. This kind of self-acceptance is rare, but it is one of the most liberating things you can achieve. So how do you break free from the need for approval? First, become aware of when and why you seek it. Do you post on social media just for likes? Do you hesitate to take action because you're afraid of judgment? Recognizing these patterns is the first step. Second, practice making decisions without seeking validation. Start small. Choose your outfit without wondering if others will like it. Express an opinion without waiting for agreement. The more you act independently, the stronger your sense of self becomes. Lastly, remind yourself that external approval is fleeting. The people who praise you today might forget about you tomorrow. But if your confidence comes from within, it is unshakable. You become the kind of person who walks into any room with certainty, knowing your worth is not up for negotiation. Let go of the need for constant approval, and you will experience a freedom most people never will. When you stop seeking validation and start living according to your own values, you will finally feel at peace. The way you perceive the world determines the way you experience it. Every situation, every challenge, and every success is filtered through your mindset. But what most people don't realize is that perception is not fixed. It can be controlled, shaped, and redefined. This is where the power of pre-framing, reframing, and deframing comes into play. Pre-framing is the ability to set expectations before an event even happens. Your brain constantly seeks confirmation of what it already believes. If you expect something to be difficult, you will find every piece of evidence that supports that belief. But if you pre-frame the situation with a different perspective, such as seeing it as an opportunity for growth, you completely shift how you experience it. Think about an athlete before a big game. If they enter the competition thinking, "I'm nervous, I might fail," they've already weakened themselves. But if they tell themselves, "This is my chance to rise to the challenge. I thrive under pressure," their performance will reflect that belief. The same applies in life. When you pre-frame your experiences positively, you give yourself the advantage before you even begin. Reframing is about changing your interpretation of challenges and setbacks. Life will always throw obstacles in your way, but the way you interpret those obstacles determines whether they break you or build you. When something negative happens, you can choose to see it as a disaster, or you can reframe it as a stepping stone towards something better. Many of the most successful people in the world have gone through massive failures. What separates them from those who give up is their ability to reframe failure as a lesson rather than a defeat. Instead of thinking "I lost an opportunity," they think, "I gained a valuable lesson that will make me stronger next time." Instead of thinking "I was rejected," they think, "That just means I'm being redirected to something better." Then there's deframing, breaking out of limiting mindsets altogether. Sometimes the way we view a situation is entirely wrong, and we don't even realize it. We operate within mental frameworks that have been shaped by society, past experiences, and fear. Deframing allows you to step back and ask, what if this belief is completely false? It's the ability to question assumptions that hold you back. For example, many people believe that success requires suffering and that if something feels enjoyable, it must not be real work. But what if that belief is entirely wrong? What if the most successful people are the ones who have found a way to make their work fulfilling? By deframing, you shatter the mental barriers that keep you stuck. Once you master pre-framing, reframing, and deframing, you develop the ability to control how you experience life. No longer are you a victim of circumstances. You become the architect of your own perception. Life does not have built-in meaning. Every event, every moment, and every experience is completely neutral until you assign it meaning. Two people can go through the exact same event and walk away with completely different emotions because of the meaning they attach to it. A breakup, for example, could be seen as devastating rejection or as an opportunity to grow and find someone better suited for you. Losing a job could be viewed as a crushing failure or as the push you needed to finally pursue what you truly love. The event itself is the same. The meaning is what makes the difference. This concept is one of the most powerful realizations you can have. It means that you are not a prisoner of your past, your failures, or your hardships. You have the ability to reshape the meaning of any experience in a way that serves you. Many people allow negative events to define them. They hold on to past pain, repeating the same story in their heads about how they were wronged, how life is unfair, and how they are doomed to struggle. But this is just a meaning they have chosen to attach to their experience. It's not the only meaning. History is filled with examples of people who took painful experiences and turned them into fuel for something greater. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that even in the most unimaginable suffering, people could find meaning in their experiences. He realized that those who survived were often the ones who found a reason to keep going, a purpose bigger than themselves. You can do the same. If something painful has happened to you, ask yourself, what else could this mean? Could it mean that you are being prepared for something greater? Could it mean that you are learning a lesson that will help you in the future? Could it mean that this is an opportunity to grow into a stronger version of yourself? You have the power to redefine every experience in a way that empowers you rather than weakens you. If you train yourself to choose meanings that serve you, you will experience life in a completely different way. This isn't about lying to yourself or ignoring reality. It's about realizing that the way you see events is entirely within your control. You can either assign meanings that make you a victim, or you can assign meanings that make you unstoppable. The direction of your life is determined by one thing more than anything else: your focus. Your mind is like a camera lens, and whatever you choose to zoom in on becomes your reality. This is why two people can live through the same circumstances but have completely different experiences. One person sees obstacles while the other sees opportunities. Your energy flows where your attention goes. If you focus on problems, they will consume you. If you focus on progress, you will find ways to move forward. This is not just a feel-good idea. It's a fundamental principle of human psychology. What you focus on expands. Think about a time when you were in a bad mood. Maybe something small went wrong in the morning, and suddenly everything in your day seemed frustrating. You spilled coffee on yourself, got stuck in traffic, and by lunchtime you were convinced the entire universe was against you. But was it really? Or were you just hyper-focused on every little negative detail? Now, compare that to a day when you felt unstoppable. Maybe you received good news, and suddenly the world looked brighter. You felt more patient, more optimistic, and even setbacks didn't bother you as much. The difference wasn't reality itself, it was what you chose to focus on. This is why training your focus is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Your mind will always find evidence to support what you believe. If you believe life is unfair, you will see proof of that everywhere. If you believe you're improving and getting stronger, your brain will find reasons to reinforce that belief. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to shift your focus. It doesn't mean ignoring your problems. It means choosing to see the full picture. There will always be challenges in life, but there will also always be things to appreciate. The more you train yourself to recognize progress, the more motivation you will have to keep going. You can start small. Every morning before you get out of bed, ask yourself, what is one thing I can be grateful for today? It could be something simple, the ability to walk, the fact that you have food, or a conversation with someone who supports you. Training your brain to look for these things rewires it over time, and soon you will start seeing more opportunities and solutions instead of problems. This doesn't mean blind optimism. It means choosing a perspective that helps you instead of one that holds you back. The reality is that your focus determines the quality of your life. If you master this, you master everything. Adversity is not an obstacle to success. It is the path to it. Every person who has achieved anything meaningful in life has faced struggles, setbacks, and failures. The difference between those who rise and those who fall is how they respond to hardship. Most people try to avoid pain at all costs. They want success, but they don't want the struggle that comes with it. They want confidence, but they don't want the discomfort of stepping out of their comfort zone. They want strength, but they don't want the weight of responsibility. What they fail to realize is that growth only happens through resistance. Think about how a muscle is built. If you want to get stronger, you don't do it by sitting comfortably. You do it by pushing against resistance. Lifting heavier weights, struggling, and even tearing muscle fibers is what causes growth. Without that struggle, there is no progress. The same is true in life. Pain is a teacher. The moments that challenge you the most are the ones that shape you into the person you are meant to become. Every setback carries a lesson, but only if you are willing to learn from it. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and philosopher, wrote in his journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that obstacles are not meant to stop you, they are meant to train you. The very thing you see as a roadblock is actually the thing that will make you stronger. When life gets hard, most people ask, "Why is this happening to me?" But the better question is, what is this trying to teach me? Every struggle carries wisdom, every failure carries experience, and every hardship builds resilience. You must reframe adversity as an opportunity. Instead of thinking, "This is unfair," think, "This is preparing me for something greater." Instead of thinking, "I can't handle this," think, "This is making me stronger." Your mind will follow whatever meaning you give to your struggles. Some of the most successful people in history have endured brutal hardships before achieving greatness. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first TV job and told she wasn't fit for television. Steve Jobs was kicked out of his own company. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison before leading his country to freedom. These people didn't succeed in spite of their struggles. They succeeded because of them. Their pain refined them. Their hardships made them unbreakable. No one becomes great without being tested. No one builds true confidence without facing fear. No one finds real strength without being broken first. The next time you face a challenge, remind yourself, this is necessary. It is the price you pay for transformation. It is the fire that will forge you into something greater. The only way out is through. Keep pushing. Life is not a straight line. It is a cycle of struggle, growth, and wisdom. Every great person who has ever lived has walked a similar path. They started with a dream, faced overwhelming obstacles, lost faith at times, but found the strength to continue. This is the essence of the hero's journey, a pattern that exists in every legendary story, from ancient myths to modern success stories. And whether you realize it or not, you are on this journey too. At the start, everything seems possible. You have dreams, ambitions, and a vision of the life you want. But then, the first obstacle hits. Maybe it's failure, rejection, or a moment of deep self-doubt. This is where most people quit. They assume the struggle means they weren't meant to succeed. They take obstacles as signs to turn back, instead of understanding that hardship is part of the process. The truth is, adversity is the fire that forges you. Every challenge, every painful moment is sculpting you into the person you need to become. Without hardship, there is no transformation. If you try to skip the struggle, you skip the growth. Think of any hero in history. Every one of them had to endure hardship before they achieved greatness. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison before leading his country to freedom. Thomas Edison failed over 10,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Even the great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, and political turmoil. Yet he used those struggles to develop the wisdom we still study today. The moment you stop seeing struggle as a punishment and start seeing it as training, everything changes. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this preparing me for?" The difficulty you're facing now is not here to break you. It is here to build you. But here's the key. Transformation doesn't happen in the struggle alone. The struggle must be followed by reflection. This is where wisdom is born. After every challenge, you must pause, look back, and extract the lessons from what you just endured. What did this experience teach you about yourself? What patterns are repeating in your life that you need to break? This is why journaling is one of the most powerful habits you can develop. It allows you to document your own hero's journey, to recognize your growth, and to ensure that you are learning from your past instead of repeating it. The only true failure in life is going through struggle and learning nothing from it. You are the hero of your own story, and just like in every great story, you will face setbacks, you will be tested, and there will be moments where you feel like giving up. But those who persist, who see struggle as fuel rather than a roadblock, are the ones who reach the other side, stronger, wiser, and ready to share their journey with the world. Most people believe they are at the mercy of their emotions. They think happiness, anger, frustration, or fear are things that simply happen to them. But the truth is, emotions don't control you. You control them. And if you don't master your emotions will master you. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing what you feel. It's about understanding your emotions, choosing how to respond, and training your mind to stay calm under pressure. This is the difference between people who thrive and people who crumble when life gets difficult. Think about the last time you let an emotion take over. Maybe someone said something that irritated you, and you reacted without thinking. Maybe you felt discouraged and let it ruin your entire day. Maybe fear stopped you from taking action, even though you knew you should. This is what happens when you let emotions dictate your decisions instead of the other way around. But here's the good news. Just like any skill, emotional mastery can be trained. And the most powerful tool for training your emotions: gratitude. Gratitude is the antidote to almost every negative emotion: fear, anxiety, frustration, even sadness. Gratitude can neutralize them all. It's impossible to feel deeply grateful and deeply fearful at the same time. It's impossible to feel overwhelming gratitude and overwhelming anger at the same time. Gratitude shifts your focus, and as we already established, your focus determines your reality. Most people wait until things are going well to feel grateful, but this is backwards. The people who master life train themselves to feel gratitude no matter what is happening. They find something to appreciate, even in the middle of difficulty. They understand that no matter how bad things seem, there is always something to be thankful for. When Marcus Aurelius was faced with betrayal and war, he still wrote daily in his journal about the things he appreciated. Whether it was the wisdom of a mentor, the resilience of his soldiers, or even just the fact that he was alive to face another day. He understood that gratitude is not just a reaction, it is a practice. You can start right now. Think of 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. They can be as simple as the air you breathe, the fact that you have a mind capable of learning, or even just a moment of peace in your day. The more you practice gratitude, the more it rewires your brain. Scientists have found that regular gratitude literally changes your brain chemistry. It reduces stress, increases happiness, and even strengthens your immune system. And, most importantly, it trains you to stay calm, focused, and strong, no matter what is happening around you. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you won't ever feel negative emotions again. It means you won't be ruled by them. It means that when fear shows up, you acknowledge it, but you don't let it stop you. When anger arises, you pause before reacting. When frustration creeps in, you shift your focus to what you can control. This is the difference between those who live in constant stress and those who move through life with power and clarity. The person who masters their emotions masters their destiny. Life is full of distractions, problems, and uncertainties. Most people spend their days reacting to these external forces, allowing their focus to be dictated by whatever grabs their attention first. Whether it's negative news, other people's opinions, or circumstances beyond their control. But here's the truth. Your focus determines your reality. If you constantly focus on what's missing, what's going wrong, or what other people are doing, your life will be filled with stress, frustration, and a sense of powerlessness. But if you train yourself to focus on what you can control, on what's working, and on the opportunities in front of you, everything shifts. The same situation can feel completely different depending on how you choose to see it. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about understanding that what you focus on expands. Your mind is like a spotlight. Whatever you shine it on becomes bigger, more significant, and more real in your experience. Think about it. Have you ever been in a bad mood and suddenly everything seemed to go wrong? That's because when you're in a negative state, your brain looks for more reasons to justify that feeling. You stub your toe, someone cuts you off in traffic, you spill your coffee. All things that might normally be minor inconveniences. But in that moment, they feel like proof that your day is terrible. Now, flip the scenario. Have you ever had one of those days where everything seemed to go right? Maybe you woke up feeling good, and suddenly people were nicer, opportunities showed up, and things just seemed to work in your favor. The difference wasn't in the world, it was in where you placed your focus. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, understood this deeply. Despite leading Rome through plagues, wars, and betrayals, he trained himself to focus only on what he could control. He reminded himself daily that worrying about things outside of his power was a waste of energy. Instead, he directed his mind toward solutions, discipline, and gratitude. His focus shaped his reality, allowing him to remain calm and effective even in the worst situations. This is where most people go wrong. They waste their mental energy obsessing over things they have no control over. They get angry about politics, stressed about the economy, jealous of other people's success, and frustrated by how unfair life can be. But none of that changes anything. If you spend all your energy complaining, worrying, or blaming, you have no energy left to actually change your life. The key to mastering life is mastering where you place your attention. So how do you do that? You start by asking yourself one simple question in every situation. Is this something I can control? If the answer is yes, then take action. If the answer is no, let it go. For example, can you control how other people treat you? Number. But you can control how you respond to them. Can you control what happens in the economy? Number. But you can control how you manage your money. Can you control what someone else thinks of you? Number. But you can control how much you let their opinion affect you. This mindset is not just about reducing stress, it's about power. When you focus only on what you can control, you stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You become more effective, more resilient, and more at peace. One of the most powerful exercises you can do is to list everything in your life that is causing you stress right now. Then separate that list into two categories: things you can control, things you can't. Next, cross out everything in the second category. Those things are not worth another second of your attention. They are distractions. Now, take everything in the first category and create a plan. Focus only on those things. This single exercise can change your life because it forces you to direct your energy toward actions instead of problems. It helps you shift from a reactive mindset to a proactive one. If you master this, you will gain an unfair advantage in life. Most people never train their focus. They let the world decide what they should care about, and as a result, they are constantly overwhelmed, stressed, and exhausted. But the rare few who train their minds to focus only on what truly matters, they become unstoppable. Remember, you don't control the world, but you control your mind. And if you control your mind, you control your life. Life is filled with challenges, setbacks, and unexpected difficulties. Most people see these moments as roadblocks, reasons to complain, or excuses to stop trying. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not the absence of obstacles. It's their ability to see opportunities where others see barriers. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have, and if you train it to reframe challenges as opportunities, you will become unstoppable. The ancient Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, obstacles are not things that stop you. They are the very things that shape you, teach you, and make you better. The moment you stop seeing problems as something to avoid and start seeing them as opportunities to grow, your entire reality changes. Think about any great success story. No one who has ever achieved something remarkable did so without facing massive challenges. Every successful entrepreneur, artist, athlete, or leader had to navigate failure, rejection, and hardship. The difference is that they used their setbacks as fuel rather than as reasons to quit. They asked themselves, "What can I learn from this? How can I turn this into an advantage?" Instead of being victims of circumstance, they became architects of their own growth. Take Thomas Edison, for example. He is famous for inventing the light bulb, but most people forget that he failed over 1,000 times before he succeeded. When asked about his failures, he didn't see them as wasted effort. Instead, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is the mindset of someone who understands that every obstacle is simply a lesson in disguise. Most people spend their time complaining about why things aren't fair, why life is hard, or why they don't have the advantages others do. But every second you spend focusing on what's wrong is a second you could have used to find a solution. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," ask, "How can I make this work?" Instead of thinking, "I don't have the resources," ask, "How can I create them?" Instead of feeling like a victim, take ownership and find a way forward. This isn't just about achieving success. It's about developing a mindset that will make you resilient in any situation. Once you learn to train your brain to see opportunities instead of obstacles, nothing can stop you. Challenges will come, but you will face them head-on. You will develop the ability to adapt, to find solutions, and to keep moving forward no matter what happens. And in the end, this mindset will set you apart from everyone else. Most people believe that their emotions are dictated by their circumstances. When things go wrong, they feel frustrated, angry, or anxious. When someone disrespects them, they react emotionally. When life throws unexpected difficulties their way, they spiral into stress and negativity. But the truth is, it's not the situation that determines your emotions. It's how you choose to respond. The Stoics taught that while you cannot control what happens in the external world, you can always control your reactions. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This means that no matter what life throws at you, you have the power to decide how you will interpret and respond to it. Imagine two people facing the exact same problem. Let's say they both lose their jobs unexpectedly. The first person falls into despair. They feel like a failure. They blame the economy, their boss, or bad luck. They spend months complaining, feeling stuck, and waiting for someone to fix their situation. The second person, however, sees this as a challenge to overcome. Instead of dwelling on what's unfair, they focus on what they can do next. They immediately start looking for new opportunities, learning new skills, and preparing for the next chapter of their life. In the end, one person remains trapped in frustration while the other grows stronger. The key difference? Their reaction. The most successful and mentally strong people in the world have mastered the ability to stay calm under pressure. They do not allow external circumstances to dictate their mood or their actions. When faced with adversity, they take a deep breath, assess the situation, and choose their response rationally rather than emotionally. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means not letting emotions control you. When something upsets you, instead of immediately reacting, take a step back and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? What is the most effective response? Am I making this bigger than it actually is? What can I learn from this situation? By mastering this skill, you will gain an incredible advantage in life. While most people react impulsively, saying things they regret, making bad decisions out of anger, or wasting time on negativity, you will remain in control. You will handle conflict with wisdom, make better choices, and become someone who is respected for their ability to stay composed in any situation. Think about the last time you lost control of your emotions. Maybe you got angry at someone, said something you regretted, or let stress overwhelm you. Now imagine if, in that moment, you had taken just a few seconds to pause, breathe, and choose your response instead of reacting automatically. The outcome would have been completely different. The ability to control your reactions is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. It will improve your relationships, your decision-making, and your overall sense of peace. No matter what happens, you always have a choice to react emotionally or to respond with wisdom, and that choice will determine the kind of life you create for yourself. Most people live as slaves to their desires. They crave comfort, pleasure, and instant gratification. chasing fleeting highs without considering the long-term consequences. They eat whatever they want, scroll endlessly on their phones, procrastinate on important work, and avoid anything that feels difficult. But what they don't realize is that every time they give in to these impulses, they weaken their own willpower and self-respect. The Stoics understood that discipline over desire is one of the highest forms of strength. Epictetus warned, "Freedom is the control of desire." In other words, the more you let your cravings control you, the less free you truly are. The person who cannot resist eating junk food, the person who is addicted to social media, the person who avoids hard work because it's uncomfortable, these people are not free. They are prisoners of their impulses. True power comes from choosing your actions based on principle, not on momentary pleasure. Think about the most successful, respected, and powerful individuals in history. Were they ruled by their emotions and cravings? They mastered their desires. They disciplined themselves to do what needed to be done, even when they didn't feel like it. Consider an Olympic athlete. They wake up early, train for hours, follow a strict diet, and push their bodies to the limit, not because they feel like it every day, but because they are committed to something greater. They have trained themselves to ignore short-term discomfort for long-term achievement. This is what separates the great from the mediocre. Desires are not inherently bad. It is human nature to want pleasure, comfort, and ease. But when you let those desires dictate your actions, you become weak. If you want to be successful, you must learn to delay gratification. You must be able to tell yourself no when your lower self wants to take the easy route. This is how you build mental toughness and inner strength. The Stoics trained themselves in self-denial. They would practice going without things they enjoyed, fasting from food, sleeping on the floor, exposing themselves to the cold, not because suffering is the goal, but because learning to live without comfort builds true resilience. When you can control your cravings instead of being controlled by them, you become unshakable. Alfie, what desires control you the most? Where in your life do you give in to impulses instead of discipline? How would your life improve if you mastered your cravings instead of letting them master you? If you want to achieve anything great, you must build the ability to resist distractions, temptations, and urges that do not serve you. Every time you choose discipline over desire, you strengthen your will. And in the end, it's not the person who indulges in everything they want who wins. It's the person who masters themselves. Most people spend their lives chasing praise and avoiding criticism. They crave validation, wanting others to approve of them, respect them, and recognize their worth. And when they don't get that validation, they feel insecure, unworthy, or even worthless. But the Stoics understood that this is a trap. Praise and criticism are both just opinions, nothing more. If you base your self-worth on what others think, you will always be at their mercy. The same people who praise you today could insult you tomorrow. If your confidence rises and falls based on external approval, you will never be truly secure in yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You cannot control how others see you, but you can control whether or not their opinions affect you. The strongest individuals are those who are rooted in their own values, their own mission, and their own self-respect. Consider a great philosopher, scientist, or leader. Did they become great because they sought approval? Number. They did what they believed was right, regardless of whether others applauded them or ridiculed them. Socrates was condemned to death for his ideas. Galileo was mocked for his discoveries. Stoic philosophers like Seneca were criticized by those who did not understand them, but they remained unshaken because they did not live for external validation. The same principle applies in everyday life. If you seek to please everyone, you will constantly be shifting, changing, and adjusting yourself to fit what others want. You will never develop true confidence because your sense of self will be built on the shaky foundation of public opinion. But when you detach from praise and criticism, you gain an incredible freedom. You no longer waste time worrying about what people think of you. You stop filtering your actions based on whether they will make others happy. You live according to your own principles, and as a result, you become unbreakable. This does not mean ignoring all feedback. Constructive criticism from wise individuals can be valuable, but there is a difference between learning from feedback and letting others define your worth. If someone criticizes you, ask yourself, is this criticism valid, or is it just an opinion? Is this coming from someone I respect? Does this feedback help me improve, or is it just noise? And if someone praises you, don't let it inflate your ego. Praise can be just as dangerous as criticism because it can make you complacent, addicted to validation, or overly focused on maintaining an image rather than living authentically. The greatest power you can develop is the ability to walk through life knowing that your value does not depend on anyone else's approval. When you reach that level of self-assurance, nothing and no one can shake you. Most people are obsessed with being right. They argue endlessly, defend their opinions to the death, and refuse to admit when they're wrong. But what does this really accomplish? It inflates the ego, but stunts growth. When your priority is proving that you're right instead of seeking the truth, you become blind to new insights, stuck in your own perspective, and resistant to change. The Stoics understood that wisdom is not about being right. It's about being willing to learn. Socrates, one of the greatest philosophers of all time, openly admitted that he knew nothing. His wisdom didn't come from a need to prove himself, but from his relentless pursuit of knowledge. He questioned everything, including his own beliefs, because he valued truth over ego. Think about the last time you argued with someone. Did it truly make you feel better, or did it just drain your energy and leave both of you frustrated? Many people enter debates not to understand, but to dominate. They don't listen. They wait for their turn to speak. They don't consider other perspectives. They only try to defend their own. This is not intelligence. It's insecurity. When you let go of the need to always be right, you gain an incredible advantage. You become adaptable. You stop clinging to outdated beliefs just because you've held them for a long time. You learn faster because you're open to new ideas. You develop humility, which allows you to grow in ways that those obsessed with their own correctness never will. The strongest minds are the most flexible. They can admit when they're wrong, change their stance when presented with better information, and adjust their beliefs as they evolve. This is a superpower. It means you are not ruled by your ego, but by your pursuit of wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, one of the wisest Stoic emperors, constantly reminded himself to remain teachable. If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change. It's the truth I'm after, and the truth never harmed anyone. This mindset separates the wise from the foolish. The fool clings to their opinion even when it's flawed. The wise person seeks truth, no matter where it leads. Letting go of the need to always be right is also a secret weapon for maintaining peace of mind. When you no longer feel the need to engage in every debate, correct every person, or prove yourself at every turn, you free yourself from unnecessary stress. Most arguments are ego battles, nothing more. Ask yourself, am I debating to learn or just to win? Do I care more about the truth or about looking smart? Am I wasting energy trying to change someone's mind when they are not open to change? The moment you stop needing to be right, you gain something far greater: inner peace, a sharper mind, and the ability to see the world more clearly than ever before. Your attention is your most valuable asset. Whatever you focus on grows: your thoughts, your emotions, your reality. Yet, most people let their attention be stolen every minute of the day. Social media, endless notifications, mindless entertainment, unnecessary drama. All of these are weapons of mass distraction, keeping you occupied but never fulfilled. The Stoics were ruthless about guarding their minds. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He understood that a distracted mind is a weak mind. If you are constantly pulled in 1,000 directions, reacting to every little thing, you will never have the focus to build something meaningful. Think about your day. How much of it is spent on things that truly matter? How often do you let distractions dictate your time? The average person spends hours scrolling, checking messages, and reacting to nonsense. And then they wonder why they feel drained, unfulfilled, and anxious. Attention is like currency. Where you spend it determines your future. If you invest it in deep work, learning, meaningful relationships, and self-improvement, you will grow. If you waste it on distractions, gossip, and entertainment designed to manipulate you, you will stagnate. This is why guarding your attention must become a top priority. The modern world is built to steal your focus. Every platform, every app, every form of media is designed to keep you engaged, not to help you grow. The more distracted you are, the more profitable you become to them. Epictetus advised, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This means ignoring trends, tuning out meaningless chatter, and prioritizing what truly adds value to your life. It means saying no to constant digital consumption and yes to deep, uninterrupted thinking. Start treating your attention like a fortress that only a few things are allowed to enter. Ask yourself, is this helping me become better or just keeping me busy? Am I consuming information or is it consuming me? Am I in control of my focus or am I being controlled by outside forces? This is not about rejecting all entertainment or never using social media. It's about intentionality. If you use these things, use them deliberately. Don't let them use you. Imagine what would happen if for 1 month you ruthlessly cut out distractions. No mindless scrolling, no unnecessary drama, no reacting to nonsense. Instead, you focused all your attention on your goals, your growth, and your inner peace. The result? A sharper mind, a more productive life, and a deep sense of clarity and purpose. Most people waste their focus on things that do not serve them, but the few who learn to guard their attention become unstoppable. Who you admire has a profound impact on who you become. Most people don't consciously choose their role models. They absorb influences passively, from celebrities, social media personalities, or even the people they spend the most time with. But if you aren't careful about who you let shape your thinking, you can end up with values and habits that don't align with the life you want to create. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, in the opening of Meditations, reflects on the people he learned from, his father, his mentors, and great philosophers. He intentionally surrounded himself with examples of wisdom, discipline, and integrity, ensuring that he was constantly exposed to ideas that made him better. He didn't leave it to chance. Today, we have more access to influence than ever before. We can learn from history's greatest minds, modern visionaries, and personal mentors, all at our fingertips. The question is, are you choosing your role models wisely? Ask yourself, who do I spend the most time with? And how do they influence me? Whose opinions do I value, and are they truly wise? Do I admire people for their character and discipline, or for superficial reasons? It's easy to be influenced by people who are loud, popular, or successful in shallow ways. But true role models should push you toward becoming stronger, wiser, and more resilient. They should embody the values you aspire to live by. If you want to cultivate discipline, look up to those who have mastered it. If you want to develop mental toughness, study those who have endured hardships with grace. If you want to lead, learn from the great leaders of history, not just the ones who had power, but the ones who led with wisdom and principle. You don't need direct access to these people. Books, biographies, and history allow you to surround yourself mentally with the greatest thinkers of all time. Want to develop unshakable focus? Study Marcus Aurelius and his ability to rule an empire while practicing daily reflection. Want to master resilience? Read about Viktor Frankl and how he found meaning in suffering. Want to live a disciplined life? Learn from Jocko Willink or David Goggins. At the same time, be ruthless about removing toxic influences. If the people around you promote laziness, negativity, or a victim mentality, their influence will slowly erode your potential. As Epictetus said, "Above all, keep a close watch on this, that you are never so tied to your former acquaintances and friends that you are pulled down to their level. If you don't, you'll be ruined." Choosing the right role models isn't just about learning. It's about protecting your mind from the wrong influences. Make sure that the people shaping your thinking deserve that power over you. Most people drift through life without a clear sense of purpose. They react to circumstances instead of shaping them, living according to other people's expectations rather than their own vision. The result? A life that feels unfulfilled, directionless, and frustrating. The Stoics believed that living a deliberate, intentional life was the key to fulfillment. If you don't decide who you want to be and what you stand for, you'll be tossed around by external forces, trends, opinions, distractions, and fleeting desires. But when you define your principles and priorities, life stops happening to you. You start shaping it. Ask yourself, are you living with intention, or are you just going through the motions? Do you start your day with purpose, or do you just react to whatever comes your way? Do your actions align with your long-term goals, or are you just doing what feels convenient in the moment? Are you actively creating the life you want, or are you waiting for it to magically appear? Living intentionally means making clear decisions about who you want to be, what you prioritize, and what you refuse to tolerate. It means knowing what kind of person you aspire to become and structuring your daily life to reflect that vision. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the most powerful man in the world, constantly reminded himself not to waste time on trivial things. He wrote, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?" This simple question cuts through distractions and forces you to focus only on what truly matters. The difference between people who live with purpose and those who drift through life is intention. The intentional person sets clear priorities and acts on them daily, doesn't waste time on meaningless distractions, aligns their actions with their deepest values. Meanwhile, the person who lives by default lets circumstances dictate their path, reacts to whatever happens instead of taking control, spends time on things that don't truly matter. If you want to live with intention, start by defining your core values. What truly matters to you? What are the non-negotiable principles that will guide your life? If you don't define these, society will define them for you. Then, design your days to reflect those values. If discipline is important to you, structure your environment to make self-discipline easier. If growth is a priority, dedicate time daily to learning. If relationships matter most, make sure your actions reflect that. Don't just say it. This isn't about rigidly controlling every aspect of life. It's about making sure that the way you live aligns with the kind of person you want to become. You will not wake up one day accidentally successful, disciplined, or fulfilled. Those things come from conscious effort, from deciding who you are and reinforcing that decision every day. Live by intention, not by default. Otherwise, you'll end up living a life shaped by other people's desires instead of your own. Strength isn't measured by muscle, status, or material wealth. True strength, the kind that can never be taken from you, comes from something far more powerful: mental mastery. It is the ability to remain unshaken no matter what storms life throws your way. When you control your mind, you control your reality. Life is unpredictable. At any moment, everything you have built can change. You will face loss, failure, betrayal, and uncertainty. There will be days when nothing makes sense, when the weight of responsibility feels unbearable, when the world seems chaotic and unfair. Most people spend their entire lives reacting to these challenges, feeling like victims of fate. But there is another way, a path that leads to absolute mental resilience. You don't need to be controlled by circumstances. You don't need to be at the mercy of emotions that rise and fall like the tide. Instead, you can develop an inner fortress, a mindset so solid that no external event can break it. This is the essence of Stoicism, not merely surviving hardship, but thriving in the face of it. People search endlessly for ways to escape pain, avoid failure, or silence their critics. They chase external success, thinking it will bring inner peace. But the secret has never been outside of them. The only way to true power, confidence, and peace is through mastery of the self. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a mind so strong that no insult could offend you, no failure could defeat you, and no setback could shake your focus. Imagine living with a sense of calm so deep that even in the middle of chaos, you remain in control. This is not a fantasy. It is the reality that the great Stoic philosophers Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca lived and proved possible. Stoicism is not about cold detachment or robotic endurance. It is about living with intention, choosing how you respond to life, rather than being pulled by every impulse or emotion. It is about separating what truly matters from what does not, and freeing yourself from the unnecessary burdens of worry, anger, and fear. This is not just another set of life lessons. This is a complete reconstruction of your mindset, a guide to building a mental foundation so strong that no one, not society, not critics, not even fate, can shake it. Every principle you're about to learn is a brick in the fortress of your mind, and once it is built, you will stand firm where others collapse. It is time to master the only thing that has ever truly been under your control, yourself. There is a simple but powerful truth that separates those who crumble under pressure from those who remain unshaken. Focus only on what you can control. This is the foundation of Stoicism. Most people waste their energy worrying about things that are entirely beyond their influence. What others think, how circumstances unfold, whether life is fair. They spend their days reacting, wishing, and fighting against reality instead of directing their energy toward what is actually within their power. As Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The world will always be unpredictable. There will always be setbacks, challenges, and moments of unfairness. Some people allow these external events to dictate their emotions, their happiness, and even their sense of self-worth. But those who have mastered the art of control understand that their power lies not in changing the world, but in changing how they respond to it. Imagine a sailor caught in a storm. He has no power over the wind, the waves, or the shifting currents. If he wastes his time cursing the weather, demanding that the sea be calmer, or wishing for a different outcome, he will only suffer more. But if he instead focuses on what he can control, his grip on the wheel, the position of his sails, his ability to navigate through the storm, he increases his chances of survival. The storm is the same, but his experience of it is entirely different. This is the essence of Stoicism. The biggest source of human suffering comes from resisting what cannot be changed. People want the world to bend to their will. They want others to act the way they expect. They want the universe to be fair, predictable, and aligned with their desires. But the truth is, trying to control the uncontrollable is like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how tightly you grip, it will always slip through. Real power comes from understanding what is within your control and focusing your energy there. Your actions are always within your control. No one can force you to react in a certain way. Even in the worst circumstances, you have the power to choose your response. Your thoughts are within your control. You can decide how you interpret events, whether you see yourself as a victim or as someone who can learn and grow from adversity. Your decisions are within your control. You can choose whether to react emotionally or rationally, whether to give in to anger and fear, or to approach situations with a calm and strategic mind. Most people go through life reacting to everything impulsively. They allow emotions to dictate their actions, which leads to poor decisions, regret, and unnecessary suffering. But between every event and your reaction to it, there is a space, a brief moment where you have a choice. In that space lies your power. If you learn to pause before reacting, to observe your thoughts and emotions instead of blindly acting on them, you begin to develop true self-mastery. Stoics understood the importance of preparation. They trained themselves to expect obstacles, not as something to be feared, but as part of life's natural order. The practice of negative visualization is one of the most powerful Stoic tools. Instead of being blindsided by hardship, a Stoic imagines potential difficulties in advance so that they are mentally prepared for them. If you expect life to be unpredictable, if you anticipate setbacks and challenges, they will have far less power over you when they arrive. This mindset allows for greater patience and emotional control. Most people are slaves to their impulses, reacting instantly to everything that happens. But training yourself to pause before reacting, whether to criticism, setbacks, or daily frustrations, creates a level of discipline that most never achieve. Instead of being pulled in every direction by external events, you become grounded, steady, and unshaken. Letting go of what is beyond your control is not weakness, it is ultimate strength. Weakness is wasting energy on things you cannot change. Weakness is being constantly thrown off balance by life's unpredictability. Strength is choosing where to place your focus. Strength is accepting what you cannot change and taking full ownership of what you can. This is not something that happens overnight. It is a process of training, of small daily choices, of learning to shift your mindset over time. But once you master it, once you begin letting go of the illusion of control and focusing entirely on your own thoughts, actions, and decisions, something incredible happens. You become free. Free from stress over things that don't matter. Free from the constant anxiety of trying to change people or circumstances. Free to direct all your energy toward growth, resilience, and purpose. The world will not change for you, but you can change how you navigate it. And when you do, nothing will be able to shake you. The world does not move according to our wishes. It flows in its own rhythm, indifferent to what we want or expect. This is one of the hardest truths for people to accept. They want life to be fair. They want events to unfold as they imagined. They want control. And when reality doesn't match their expectations, they suffer. But true peace doesn't come from trying to force life into submission. It comes from acceptance, understanding that things are as they are, not as we wish them to be. Most people misunderstand acceptance. They see it as weakness, as passivity, as giving up. But this could not be further from the truth. Acceptance is power. It is the ability to see reality clearly, without illusion, without resistance. It is what allows you to navigate life with wisdom instead of frustration. It doesn't mean you stop trying to improve things. It means you stop wasting energy on battles you can't win, on resenting what already is. Imagine gripping a rope that is on fire. The more you hold on, the more it burns you. But you refuse to let go because you think the rope should not be burning, that things should be different. Your resistance is what's causing your pain. The moment you release your grip, the pain stops. This is how most people live their lives, clutching onto expectations, refusing to accept reality, and suffering because of it. Nature provides the perfect example of the power of acceptance. Trees bend in the wind. If they resisted, they would break. But by adapting to the storm, they survive. Rivers do not fight against obstacles. They flow around them, finding a new path without resistance. Nature does not waste energy fighting what cannot be changed. It adapts, it moves, it endures. This is the mindset of true strength. People suffer not because of reality itself, but because of their attachment to how they believe things should be. They think their job should be easier, their relationships should be smoother, the world should be fairer. But who decided this? Where is it written that life must unfold exactly as you expect? This attachment to the imaginary should creates endless frustration. The sooner you accept that life operates on its own terms, not yours, the sooner you will find peace. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" A Stoic asks, "How can I use this?" The first question leads to victimhood, resentment, and wasted energy. The second leads to growth, wisdom, and mastery over your own mind. Every challenge holds a lesson, but only if you stop resisting long enough to see it. Society conditions people to believe they should be in control of everything. From a young age, we are taught to demand certainty, to avoid mistakes, to bend the world to our will. But this is a war against nature. The more you try to control what is uncontrollable, the more exhausted and frustrated you become. Nothing is ever fully within your control. Your plans, your career, your relationships, even your own body can betray you at any moment. The truth is, the only thing you ever truly own is your response to what happens. Perfectionism is one of the greatest lies that prevents peace. People convince themselves that happiness will come when everything is in order, when life is predictable, when nothing ever goes wrong. But life will never be perfect. There will always be obstacles, imperfections, and uncertainties. Peace is not found in eliminating problems, but in learning to be calm despite them. Acceptance is not something that happens in one dramatic moment. It is a daily practice, a skill that must be developed through small acts of surrender. Consider the minor annoyances of daily life: traffic, delays, unexpected inconveniences. How often do people waste energy getting angry, stressed, or frustrated over things that cannot be changed? Every time you react emotionally to something insignificant, you reinforce the habit of resistance. But when you practice observation instead of reaction, you begin to build true resilience. You see the situation, you acknowledge it, and you move forward without unnecessary frustration. And what about real suffering? Loss, betrayal, failure, sickness. When something painful happens, you have two choices: resist and suffer, or accept and adapt. Most people choose the first. They spend years resenting a breakup, blaming others for their failures, or replaying painful memories as if doing so will change anything. But no amount of wishing can undo the past. No amount of anger can change what already is. Those who choose acceptance do not avoid pain, but they prevent unnecessary suffering. They feel the hardship, but they do not attach themselves to it. Imagine someone facing a serious illness. They have two ways to respond. They can spend their days cursing fate, obsessing over the unfairness of it all, drowning in negativity and fear. Or they can accept the reality of their situation and focus on what is still within their control: their treatment, their time with loved ones, their mindset. The illness itself may not change, but their experience of it will be entirely different. One path leads to misery, the other leads to peace. Acceptance does not mean you do nothing. It does not mean you allow yourself to be mistreated or that you give up on change. It means that before you act, you first see reality clearly, without distortion, without attachment. When you resist reality, you fight an unwinnable battle. When you accept it, you free your energy to be used where it actually matters. There is an immense power that comes from stopping the fight against what is. When you finally release the burning rope, when you stop clinging to how you think life should be, you experience something most people never will: unshakable calm. You stop being thrown around by external events. You stop wasting energy on things you cannot change. You become steady, unmovable, a fortress of resilience in a world of chaos. Most people will spend their lives fighting reality, drowning in frustration over things they have no control over. But you don't have to be one of them. When you learn to accept life as it is, you unlock a level of peace that nothing, not failure, not misfortune, not even loss, can ever take from you. Most people live as prisoners of external opinions. Their every decision, every action, every word is filtered through an invisible yet suffocating question: what will people think? This silent dictator controls their confidence, their ambitions, even their happiness. The fear of judgment shackles them, limiting what they say, what they do, and ultimately, who they become. In today's world, social media has amplified this prison. Every like, comment, and follow becomes a measure of self-worth. A post that gets attention brings a temporary high, but when it doesn't, the silence feels like rejection. People start adjusting their behavior, curating their lives, posting only what will be well received. Slowly, without realizing it, they become performers in a play they didn't even choose to be in. The applause of strangers dictates their self-esteem, and their identity is molded by an algorithm. But here's the reality: no one's opinion has power over you unless you hand it to them. Your worth does not come from the approval of others. It is not found in numbers, recognition, or validation. It is something that can only come from within. Why do we care so much about what others think? Because we have been conditioned to tie our self-worth to external approval. From childhood, we are rewarded when we meet expectations and punished when we don't. We are told that acceptance equals safety, that being liked is proof of our value. But this is a dangerous illusion. If your confidence is built on validation, it is like a house built on sand. The moment approval disappears, so does your sense of self. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, warned against this fragile foundation. He taught that the only opinion that truly matters is your own. He understood that allowing others to dictate your self-worth is the fastest path to misery. If someone else's judgment has the power to shatter your confidence, then you have unknowingly placed your identity in their hands. Fear of judgment leads to self-censorship. How many opportunities have you ignored just because you were afraid of what others would say? How often have you reshaped yourself to fit expectations, suppressing parts of who you truly are? This is an invisible prison, one that most people never escape. They live their entire lives bending to opinions that in the grand scheme of things don't even matter. Here's the hard truth. Most people are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. We assume people are constantly analyzing our mistakes, judging our choices, or whispering behind our backs. But the truth is, they're far too consumed with their own insecurities, their own fears, and their own self-image to be truly focused on you. The spotlight effect, the tendency to believe that others are paying more attention to us than they actually are, is one of the biggest mental traps holding people back. And even when people do judge, it says more about them than about you. When someone criticizes you, dismisses your dreams, or looks down on your choices, they are often projecting their own fears and insecurities onto you. A person who has given up on their ambitions will mock yours. A person who feels insecure about their own appearance will insult others. A person who is afraid to take risks will try to convince you to play it safe. Their opinions are not objective truths. They are reflections of their own inner struggles. Of course, this doesn't mean you should ignore all feedback. There is a difference between wisdom and useless noise. Listening to those who genuinely care about you and offer thoughtful advice is valuable. Ignoring shallow criticism from people who add no value to your life is necessary. A person who offers honest guidance because they want to see you grow is different from someone who tears you down to feel better about themselves. The key is discernment, learning to distinguish between the two. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the essence of true freedom. The opinions of others are outside of your control. You cannot dictate what they say, what they think, or how they perceive you. But you can control whether or not you let their words affect you. Those who live for approval will always be at the mercy of other people's moods. They will be confident one day and insecure the next. Their happiness will fluctuate depending on whether they are being praised or criticized. But those who detach from external validation become untouchable. When you build your self-worth from within, rooted in your principles, your values, and your own perception of yourself, nothing anyone says can shake you. Imagine the freedom of no longer caring whether others approve of you. Imagine making decisions based on what is right for you, not on what will be most accepted. Imagine pursuing your ambitions without fear of ridicule, speaking your truth without hesitation, and embracing your individuality without apology. This is not arrogance, it is strength. It is the kind of confidence that does not require validation, that does not crumble under criticism. People will always have opinions. Let them. It is not your job to please them. It is not your duty to meet their expectations. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your own growth, your own peace, your own purpose. The moment you stop seeking approval, you start living on your own terms. And that is when you become truly powerful. Modern society is obsessed with accumulation. More money, more possessions, more recognition. People are taught that success means holding on, clinging to achievements, relationships, and status as if life itself depends on them. The world encourages attachment, making people believe that their worth is tied to what they own, how they are perceived, or the roles they play. But what if true strength isn't found in acquiring more, but in letting go? Stoicism challenges this deeply ingrained mindset. It teaches that power is not about possession, but about freedom, the ability to release what does not serve you. Letting go is not weakness, it is mastery over oneself. It is the wisdom to know when something is no longer adding to your life, when an attachment has turned into a burden rather than a benefit. People often struggle with this concept because modern culture equates letting go with indifference or failure. In reality, it is the opposite. Letting go means reclaiming control. It means detaching from unhealthy expectations, freeing yourself from unnecessary burdens, and refusing to hold on to things that only bring suffering. The truth is, most suffering is self-inflicted. It comes not from external events, but from our resistance to them. The fear of losing something, the fear of being wrong, the fear of change. These are the mental chains that keep people trapped. A powerful analogy for this is the image of a tight fist. Imagine gripping something so hard that your hand starts to ache. The harder you squeeze, the more painful it becomes. This is how attachment works. The tighter you hold on to things, whether it's a relationship, a belief, an expectation, the more suffering it creates. But the moment you loosen your grip, the pain disappears. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you have chosen peace over control. When you release attachment, you gain something far greater: freedom. This is the essence of Stoicism, mastering yourself so that external forces no longer dictate your inner state. A mind that is not shackled by the need to control everything becomes resilient. A person who can let go of what is unnecessary becomes unstoppable. This is what true strength looks like. In today's world, people are conditioned to accumulate not just material things, but also emotional baggage. They hold on to past mistakes, toxic relationships, and limiting beliefs because they fear what will happen if they let go. But the real question is, what happens if they don't? How much energy is wasted carrying the weight of things that no longer matter? Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, spoke about the importance of minimalism of the mind, the idea that true wealth is needing less, not having more. The less you are attached to, the less you have to lose. When you free yourself from attachment, you free yourself from suffering. This doesn't mean giving up everything or detaching from life. It means caring about the right things. It means choosing what truly matters and discarding what doesn't. Letting go isn't just about external possessions. It's about releasing the need to control. Many people live in a constant battle with reality, wishing things were different, trying to force the world to fit their expectations. But fighting against what is only creates frustration. The more you try to control everything, the more powerless you become. The paradox is that true power comes when you surrender control over the uncontrollable. Imagine living with the ability to let go of anger the moment it arises. Imagine not being emotionally enslaved by someone's opinion of you. Imagine being able to move forward without the weight of the past holding you back. This is what happens when you cultivate the strength of letting go. You no longer react out of fear. You no longer waste energy trying to hold on to things that are meant to pass. You flow with life instead of resisting it. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly reminded himself of life's impermanence. He knew that everything, possessions, people, even life itself, is temporary. This wasn't a cause for despair. It was a call to clarity. When you accept that nothing is truly yours to keep, you stop fearing loss. Instead, you begin to live with a sense of lightness. You learn to appreciate things for what they are in the moment, rather than grasping at them as if they define you. Most people don't realize that letting go is not just an act of release. It is an act of self-empowerment. It is a conscious decision to prioritize your mental clarity over external attachments. When you let go of unnecessary expectations, you stop feeling disappointed. When you stop clinging to an ideal version of life, you start experiencing life as it actually is. And when you detach from the need to control, you begin to feel at peace. Strength is not about how much you can hold on to. It's about how much you are willing to release. The strongest minds are not the ones that accumulate the most, but the ones that are free from attachment. The more you let go, the more space you create for wisdom, peace, and clarity. In the end, everything you fear losing was never truly yours to keep. What remains is the one thing that cannot be taken from you,